We interrupt this program for an ABC 3340 storm alert from the Weather Authority.
At 10:52, we're going to go live with wall-to-wall coverage due to an extremely dangerous thunderstorm moving up here to county. That's the Hook Echo right there. This is going to be moving up into parts of Marion County, and you can see our new polygon here. This will include basically Hamilton and points north. This does include Hackleburg and the far northwestern part of Marion County. This does not include Winfield or Guin. So again, we have a tornado warning in effect now for the northern and western part of Marion County for an extremely dangerous storm that's coming right up on Amory, Mississippi. That is a violent storm, a debris ball right here. This is extremely dangerous. We have had major tornado damage in Mississippi and Rolling Fork, Silver City. And again, that couplet is about as violent as they get. And that tornado is coming right up on Amory. Let's look at the debris tracker, the correlation coefficient product, and look at that. This is a violent, large, destructive tornado that is right at Amory, Mississippi. And again, that will be crossing over into Marion County in northwest Alabama here fairly soon. So again, this is Scottsville right here. This is Interstate 22. And obviously, this is a call now. You've got some time. If you live in a mobile home, you've got to get out if you're in this polygon. And again, this is Hamilton, north and west in Marion County in northwest Alabama. This includes Hackleburg as well. This is US 43. That's Interstate 22. If you live in a trailer, a mobile home, you've got time now to go to the nearest community shelter or a business that's open 24/7 that can serve as a shelter. You cannot stay in a mobile home and you cannot be in a car. So again, everybody should be stopping now. We don't want any traffic along Interstate 22 from Hamilton to the Mississippi state line for the next hour. Okay, this is an extremely violent, large, destructive, confirmed tornado at Amory, Mississippi. So again, no cars, no mobile homes. If you're in a site-built home and if you're in the polygon here, and again, let me just stress, this is not all of Marion County. If you're in Brilliant, Winfield, Guin, this does not affect you. This is from Hamilton north and west. Hackleburg, yes. Hamilton, yes. Scottsville, yes. All right, we want you in a small room, hall, closet, bathroom, lowest floor, near the center and away from windows, and you're going to wear a helmet, a bicycle helmet, a batting helmet, football helmet, motorcycle helmet. Most people that are seriously injured in tornadoes, it's blunt force trauma from the shoulders up. And again, Dennis, we do have Stephen Quinn who is on this storm, and we're going to go to him. Okay, in fact, there's a live look at our camera from Marion County. And Dennis, if you, when Stephen gets on the line where I can talk with him, let me know, and we're going to speak with him as the storm comes through. But Bill Castle and Stephen Quinn have a great advantage to see this. And understand, it's night. These are rain-wrapped tornadoes. We cannot show them to you live on television like we sometimes can during the day. You're going to have to trust us when we talk about these debris signatures on radar like this. But again, an extremely dangerous, large, violent tornado at Amory, Mississippi that will be hitting the Alabama-Mississippi state line here in about 15 minutes. Taylor, let's do that storm track one more time, and let's take a look at the ETAs, the arrival time for this storm for some of the communities up here in the northern and western part of Marion County. And again, this will be probably, right now it's 10:56. And this most likely will hit the state line probably about 10:15 or so. We got about 15 minutes. And again, it's a good thing that we've got time because this does give those in mobile homes the opportunity to get to a safe place. And again, you can see the approximate arrival times on your screen of this large, violent tornado. Best case scenario, the tornado dissipates before it moves into Alabama. Could that happen? Yes. Is it likely? No. We've had long-track tornadoes in Mississippi that have been very violent, large, violent, long-track tornadoes, and conditions favor that up here in the northwestern corner of the state tonight. So there's a good chance that this thing will likely maintain its identity. So again, debris is being lofted at this point to at least 15,000 feet, and the velocity is basically off the scale with this thing. We're seeing a 200-knot velocity couplet, which I don't know if I've seen before. Debris is being lofted to at least 7,000 feet. And again, the tornado warning for the northern and western part of Marion County is in effect until 11:45. That's about 48 minutes from now. So again, Taylor's got the tornado circled, and again, it's coming right up in here toward northern and western Marion County. Hamilton, you're in the polygon. Most likely, This tornado is going to stay a little north of Hamilton, but again, you've got to respect the polygon, okay? It accounts for room for error. Sometimes tornadoes will move a little to the right of the mean flow at times, and again, that's the reason we don't have this just a little thin polygon. There's a little room here, a little wiggle room for the possibility of some track changes with this. And again, you can see that just horrifying tornado debris signature here. That's just graphic violence. You don't want to see that. And I know for a lot of people, we hear from social science studies, when people see this, they just see a bucket of spilled paint with these correlation coefficient products. But again, Taylor's going to run this, and again, you can see it right here, coming right through Amory. And next up is Smithville, Mississippi, and they took a direct hit. April 27, 2011, from an EF5, horrifying tornado. And again, this tornado will be close to Smithville, or maybe just south of there. And again, our friends there had a horrible tragedy, just unspeakable damage, April 27, 2011. And again, next up, that'll be hitting the state line here sometime about 11:15. But again, the key message, another thing I want to talk to you about tonight, you can be a hero, you can be part of the process tonight. A lot of folks don't pay attention to weather, and that's fine. I understand that. We are all busy. And a lot of folks don't even know this is happening. So if you know somebody in this polygon up and through here, Hamilton, up to Scottsville, back over to Hackleburg, call them now, or text them now, and let them know this is serious business and they need to watch this. And again, we're streaming this coverage live on YouTube and Facebook. If you can't see us over the air, TV is free over the air, but those are the streaming platforms, and of course on our website. However they can watch this, they need to watch this, but forget watching it. The main thing they've got to do is get to a safe place. So again, if you know anybody in this particular part of Marion County in northwest Alabama, from Hamilton west and north, back up toward Hackleburg, over to Scottsville, call them or text them now. I know it's late on a Friday night. It doesn't matter. In fact, I might be asking people to make those phone calls at 1, 2 a.m. tonight or early tomorrow morning. It's going to be that type of night. And we have had just horrific damage in parts of Mississippi from the same parent storm, the same one that came through Rolling Fork and Silver City and Winona, Mississippi. They had some damage from this. It cycled down for a little bit, but it certainly cycled back up. Let's look at that velocity one more time, Taylor. Yeah. Wow. That's just brutal. And again, that is a violent, destructive tornado moving up here into Marion County. So we have now in Marion County Stephen Quinn, who's at Bill Castle. Stephen, tell us exactly where you are and what you've got there now.
James, just want to make sure you can hear me okay. We are parked right now, and you are looking at First Baptist Church of Hamilton's parking lot. Our camera is positioned looking north and west. That's the track we gathered that it looked like the storm was expected to move forward, and we hope that this would give us a safe and good vantage point as it passes possibly through here. But certainly, as you mentioned, is looking at that polygon, Hamilton is square in the middle of it, so we're certainly keeping an eye on this while praying for the people in Amory right now. I mean, that is just nasty looking. Lightning and rain is starting to pick up here. You mentioned the gradient winds. We've seen those all the way since Jasper and Walker County. The 40-45 mile an hour gusts you mentioned have definitely been out there. It was tough to stay on the interstate driving full speed right now out there. So that gives you a sense of those conditions ahead of the storm, and the lightning is starting to pick up in frequency here. Spann, I do see some people driving around. You hope that people are getting messages on this Friday night, and we will keep an eye out and hoping that this thing dissipates. But if not, we should have a vantage point on it.
Okay, Stephen, yeah, you hang tight there. And again, Stephen Quinn and Bill Castle, and as this gets closer to them, we'll be checking with them more often. And don't expect us to show you the tornado live. Number one, the most important thing, it's the safety of these crews in the field. We can't get them in a dangerous position, and we're not going to do that. And a lot of people will tell me, well, I'm not going to do anything till I see it. Well, that's a bad decision. Listen, that is a violent tornado that is down passing just south of downtown Smithville, Mississippi. That is debris being lofted 7,000 to 10,000 feet in the atmosphere. An extremely violent tornado, and most likely it came right on top of Amory. And there's some marvelous people that live there. It's a great community. And again, this is passing just south of Smithville, maybe just south of the track of the April 27, 2011 tornado. And again, that's going to be coming out into the northern and western part of Marion County. And again, up on the screen, those are the approximate arrival times. That will give you a general idea and when it might be close to you. But really, don't wait on this thing, please. You've watched me. I've been doing this since World War I here. And you know my body language, you know my language. And we're not fooling around here. This is serious business, okay? This is a very violent tornado. And you've got to take actions now to protect you and your family. There's no need to panic or to, just take a big deep breath. And if you're in a site-built house, get the helmets on, get into your safe place, okay? Watch us on your phone. We don't want you to staying in a big room watching this. We want you to watch it on your phone, and don't go outside and look for this thing. You won't see anything, okay? If there was something to see, we'd show it to you. Just be in that safe place. And again, if you live in a mobile home in Marion County, you've got to get out now. Now, don't wait, okay? There are some businesses, if you don't have a community shelter nearby, there are some businesses along Interstate 22 that are open 24/7. Go in there, they'll let you in. But you've got to get out of that mobile home and you've got to get into some type of site-built structure, a business that's open, or preferably a community shelter. And there are a number of them up in this part of northwest Alabama. But again, you can see that the violent circulation right here that is on top of Smithville, Mississippi. All right, Taylor Sarallo is with me. We're going to be here all night. Taylor, you're watching these chat sessions. Have you heard of anything from Amory or Smithville so far?
Not yet, but I'm going to be watching everything very carefully. But of course, just based on the radar presentation of this storm, we can tell that there's going to be damage reports coming out of this. We've got lofted debris. We know that there has likely been structural or tree damage with this system. And it's probably still ongoing, considering the fact that we do still have that correlation coefficient, that drop in the CC there, indicating that lofted debris. This is the same storm we've been tracking for hours and hours, back all the way across the state of Mississippi. This entered the state of Mississippi from Louisiana. This is the same parent storm that produced quite a bit of damage. So this has a history of producing damage, still now producing damage once again, just to the east of Smithville at this point, and it will likely be crossing the border into Alabama here pretty soon. I am going to do a track here just from that debris ball to the state line. About 10 minutes until this crosses into Marion County. So this is your call to action. If you live in Marion County, if you're in a mobile home, you need to get to a site-built structure, just like James was telling you. Everybody who's in that polygon should also be in that safe place as well. We had that warning issued a few minutes ago, so you've had some time to make sure you could put that plan into action. And now you are in control of making the decisions right now to make sure that you can keep yourself and your family safe. This is a strong indication of a tornado that is still on the ground. It's in Mississippi, and it is likely going to cross over into Alabama here in the next couple of minutes. We could see this upgraded to a tornado emergency if we continue with the way this is looking at this point. This is that strong indication that there is damage happening. You know, this isn't a drill. This is one of those situations where we can tell that there is a tornado on the ground at this point with this situation. And on that radar presentation, it's not often that you see couplets that are that well defined. And so it's kind of a textbook picture of what you would study if you're looking at how to read radar and how to look for a tornado. This is one of those situations where we've got a really good indication there. We don't have to kind of search and find where that rotation is. We know where that rotation is, and we have seen, based on the correlation coefficient, that this rotation has had a history of producing damage. Certainly could still be on the ground at this point, and at this point hasn't showed signs of weakening. Sometimes these storms cycle a bit, so we could see this cycle in the next few minutes. But for the time being, not any indication that this is weakening by any means.
Yeah, let's take Stephen's and Bill's live shot if we can, and let's bring up that audio and just kind of listen to the ambient sound we've got there. And again, this is basically at Hamilton, and this violent tornado, if it stays down, most likely will be passing just north of that spot, and they've got a really good spot to be safe, and that's our main concern for the crews in the field. And again, I'm just telling you, these are rain-wrapped tornadoes, and we just can't show them to you. But again, it is very important that you be sheltered right now. That's the main message. You can watch us on your phone. We're streaming this on ABC 3340's YouTube channel. and on their Facebook page. And of course, you can watch it on abc3340.com, but the preference is for you to have that in your hand and you have that in your safe place. And again, we're going nowhere as long as we have tornado warnings. We will be here. And again, you can see the lightning off in the distance, and we're going to see that lightning increasing as that tornadic storm gets closer to the location of Stephen and Bill Castle. And again, they are in Hamilton. So let's go back to the radar. It's 11:07. If you're just joining us, we have a violent tornado that has come through Amory, Mississippi. It passed very close to Smithville, Mississippi, and it's now only about 7 miles due west of the Alabama-Mississippi state line. This will be staying north of Lamar County. There was some concern that it might affect possibly northern Lamar. The debris signature is not as intense as it was earlier, the CC lowering here, but understand it's going to go through cycles where it doesn't have that much debris to loft, okay? A lot of this part of Mississippi is just open fields and there's nothing to loft. If it's going through a wooded area, you'll have more of a CC drop like that, or a population center where parts of buildings are being lofted. But again, this is still a very violent storm. The best possible thing here is for this thing to lift before it gets into Alabama. Could that happen? Absolutely. We hope it does. We pray that it does, but I can't guarantee that's going to happen. And based on the weather conditions we have tonight, the wind profiles, the synoptic scale, the mesoscale conditions, they favor long track tornadoes in this part of the state, northwest Alabama. And again, I know there are other areas in the state where it's raining and you might hear some thunder, but this is the only tornado warning in our part of the state right now. This is the tornado warning in effect for the northwest part of Marion County. There is a tornado warning up in the far northern part of the state, up covered by the Huntsville folks, the Huntsville television market, but we're going to focus on this one. So again, to get your bearings straight, the town of Hamilton is right here, largest city in Marion County. Interstate 22 is located right here. And obviously, you can't be driving on Interstate 22. No, if you are listening to us maybe by radio, a lot of our affiliate radio stations carry the audio, and if you're hearing my voice and if you're in the car, you need to stop at Hamilton. If you're driving, let's say, toward Tupelo from Ewan or Winfield, stop at Hamilton, go into a gas station, go into a fast food restaurant, any place that's open, and use that as a shelter. Don't stay in your car. Don't keep driving. Nobody should be along Interstate 22 from Hamilton to the Mississippi state line for the next 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes, let's say 40 minutes, okay, until 11:45. That's when this warning expires. And again, we have a violent tornado signature here that is approaching the Alabama-Mississippi state line. So call to action number 1, nobody driving. And again, I want to point out, too, that this does include Hackleburg up here. Most likely, this tornado will be passing about like this, crossing Interstate 22, maybe just a little north of Hamilton. The tornado, but again, Hamilton is in the polygon. In a case like this, you do respect the polygon. And that tornado is going to move up in the direction of Hackleburg. Of course, Phil Campbell is up here in Franklin County, and the Weather Service in Huntsville will probably post a tornado warning for Franklin County as well soon. You don't want to issue warnings too early, but I think in this case it was done well. We've given people in mobile homes time to get to a safe place. We certainly hope that's the case. You've had about 20 minutes already to get to a safe place. But again, we are here because we have a large destructive tornado that is on radar that is confirmed with debris being lofted that is just 5 miles or so west of the Alabama-Mississippi state line. This is all for reference sake about 75 to 80 miles northwest of Birmingham, in the far northwestern part of our television market. And again, that violent tornado is going to be crossing into Marion County, crossing Interstate 22, and then ultimately U.S. Highway 43, probably a little north of Hamilton. But remember, sometimes these things can literally create their own steering currents, and they can move a little to the right of the mean upper airflow and turn a little to the right. And that's the reason that Hamilton is in the polygon. But again, if you're down here in Winfield, you're not involved in this. You are not in the polygon. You don't need to do anything. Some of the older legacy warning systems sound county-wide. This is only for this part of Marion County right here. So again, if you're in Brilliant, Winfield, Ewan, you are not involved in this, okay? This is only for areas north and west of Hamilton. This would include Scottsville, Hackleburg, down to Hamilton. And again, you can see that really destructive circulation is getting close. let's look at the reflectivity for just a second. We've seen a pretty remarkable debris ball, and let's, if we can't tell, let's back it up a few frames and kind of follow this thing from Smithfield back up to where it is now. And I want to look at the reflectivity structure of this. And again, you can see that incredible debris ball. I mean, that's just nasty. All right, so watch it come out of Amory. That's a debris ball right here. And watch that debris ball come right on through just south of Smithfield. And it's starting to lose its definition a bit here in the reflectivity. And again, we do note a beware, bounded weak echo region there, and there's probably still a tornado there. I'm not saying there's no tornado, but I'm just saying that the structure and the reflectivity does not look quite as good as it did 10, 15 minutes ago coming through Amory and just near or just south of Smithfield. So let's go back to the velocity, and again, the velocity products really tell the story where you start to lose the definition here, and again, it's clearly spinning like a top. And again, this tornado is about to cross over into Marion County. If we can, let's go back to Stephen Quinn, if we've got Stephen and Bill Castle. Stephen, if you've got audio, can talk to me. Tell us what it's like up there now. How's the lightning frequency? And we might not have Stephen. All right, Stephen, can you hear us? It's James and Taylor. We might not have Stephen plugged in. Understand, when you're a two-man band and you got a violent tornado coming, you got to take care of yourselves first. That's what we teach, and they're probably in the process of doing that. You can leave your camera up, leave the stream up. That's great. We can replace that camera. We can't replace people. But again, if we do get Stephen, we'll go back to him. Bill is panning around, and you can see the lightning on the horizon as that storm approaches Hamilton and getting into Alabama. Looks like rain is beginning to fall pretty heavily there. And again, this is going to be a rain-wrapped tornado. I know a lot of the weather dweebs and weenies, you like to watch the coverage in the Great Plains states where they have dry LP storms, low precipitation. You can see the tornadoes from miles away. That rarely ever happens here. Rarely ever happens. This is not Kansas, this is Alabama. And this is what Alabama tornadoes look like. They often come at night like this. They're typically rain-wrapped. But that doesn't lessen their intensity. This is a violent tornado that has come through the northeastern part of Mississippi. And again, this is going to be coming right into Marion County. Looking at some notes here from the Weather Service, and they are seeing the same trend that we are seeing. John DeBlock, John is the WCM, the Warning Coordination Meteorologist. John is saying it looks like the tornado might be occluding, broadening, and weakening somewhat. Again, that's exactly what I think is happening. But understand, once we have an occlusion process, they often come right back, and that happened with this. This is a long-lived supercell thunderstorm that dropped a horribly violent tornado on Rolling Fork in Silver City, Mississippi. We've had injuries, we've had just horrific damage, and this is the same storm. And it cycled down for a while, and it came right back up. The signature was just incredibly violent over northeastern Mississippi. And again, if it is beginning to weaken somewhat, it might come right back at any moment. You cannot stop your precautions right now. You've got to stay in a safe place. And I know this is no party. It's Friday night, it's 11:15, and you're in a bathroom, a basement, you got your family, you got on helmets. That's the right thing to do. Life is a series of decisions, and you have to make the right ones. You don't want to make wrong decisions on a night like tonight. So would you please heed what we're asking you to do and keep yourself safe, okay? We don't want any loss of life in this state. We can fix a house, we can fix a business, we can fix the damage, but we can't replace people. And again, you can see that rain beginning to fall. So let's go back to the radar. And again, you can see that the circulation is clearly broader than it was. I mean, this thing was tight. I mean, really tight. Lug nuts on a 1957 Chevrolet truck. But now it's broader, but still, it could tighten up again at any time. So the Weather Service is not going to use the tornado emergency verbiage that they have the option of using. This is a tornado warning, which is still serious business, okay? This storm is serious. It has produced horrific damage in Mississippi. And again, that is now in Marion County, inside the state line. And again, this circulation is going to be coming out, passing probably a little north of Hamilton here in about 15 minutes, probably south of Scottsville, a little north of Hamilton. But again, everybody from Hackleburg to Hamilton, back up to Scottsville, back to the state line, stay sheltered. Nobody driving along Interstate 22. We don't want a single car or truck out there until this thing gets on by. And this is not going to be for Marion County, we'll probably give you an all clear here in an hour or so. This will be one of the first counties to be cleared. This will not be an all-nighter for any one given spot. The weather's going to be really bad for a fairly short amount of time, and then it moves on by. In fact, the day ahead, Saturday, should be a pretty nice day. The day tomorrow is still Friday night here. So again, we are watching a circulation that could represent a tornado, all right, that's over the western part of Marion County in northwest Alabama. When this came through Amory, Mississippi, near Smithville, Mississippi, it was a violent tornado. The rotation is broader now. It seems to be going through an occlusion process, but it could come right back. And there still could be a tornado down. And you still got to stay in your tornado safe place, okay? But again, that's the reason we're here. And again, not now, but in a few minutes, we are going to show a larger picture and kind of talk about the other cities and what's to come. But let's go back up into Marion County. Stephen Quinn and Bill Castle. Stephen, again, tell us what your conditions are like now.
Well, for the first time, we're starting to see some consistent rain now, James. That is coming from the south as we're about 11 miles away from the center of this circulation. As you mentioned, a circulation that has been weakening. The concern has been, though, as you've mentioned, was we've been following this. This is obviously cycled back once, and I'm sure everyone is keeping an eye to see if that happens again. You're seeing and hearing the rainfall. We did hear sirens as well, and obviously I know that's not something you want to rely on, but you at least hope that people here are aware of the warnings. I can tell you it's quieted down. You mentioned it's a Friday night. Here in Hamilton, James, it's pretty quiet right now, as you would expect, given the deteriorating conditions we're seeing right now. The rain is picking up, and this is still holding on a path that looks to be about 5 miles to our north and west, and that is the way in which our cameras are directed. As you mentioned, the rain is very heavy, so seeing something will be difficult, but showing you at least a sense of the conditions of what we're dealing with right now. We've seen some police that have been out patrolling the area. You can expect that they will be busy, if and when we get debris and anything else associated with these storms. The wind is picking up, as you can see right here. I mean, this rain is starting to move. The direction is starting to shift as well as this moves closer. And wow, there's a big clap of thunder.
Yeah, and let me just say, Stephen, even if we don't have a tornado, the straight line winds are going to be 80 to 90 miles an hour based on the velocities we're seeing on radar coming, in your direction. So
okay.
Again, I don't want anybody to, stop your tornado precautions. Understand what the Weather Service is doing. They're basically laying a severe thunderstorm warning in under the tornado warning because of the straight line wind potential. So in addition to the chance of a tornado, there's a good chance we're going to see, again, 80 to 90 mile per hour surface winds that are coming right into Hamilton and much of Marion County. So again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for the potential for damaging winds. And we have a tornado warning in effect for Marion County as well up in northwest Alabama. So let's go back to the radar. And again, we'll be kind of, I don't know if we want to double box this. We probably can if you want to, Dennis. We can kind of keep Stephen's live shot up so we can kind of watch the wind going on here. But again, there's the circulation. So Taylor, it looks like the main concern for the moment is kind of shifting maybe towards straight line winds.
It does definitely look like this is at least broadened out a little bit, that main area of circulation, not quite as tight as it was back across the border in Mississippi. However, we've still got the threat of those strong straight line winds that can also take down trees and power lines and cause damage. So, of course, there is still a tornado warning, so we want you in that safe place, and we want you being sure you are staying there. Even if you hear us say this is broadened out just a bit, we've got the threat of damaging straight line winds, and we also have the potential to see this storm kind of cycle and ramp back up again in intensity. We've had this storm do that throughout its life cycle, so not out of the question that we see that happen again. So that is the reason why there still is a tornado warning, even though for the moment this does appear to have broadened out just a bit. You're seeing a lot of the bright greens on the map there. Those are all indications of very strong winds within this storm. So we've got heavy rain, a lot of loud thunder, very strong winds. So if you stay in that safe place, stay where you are. This isn't going to last forever. The storm is moving fairly quickly. It's moving at about 60 miles per hour. So fortunately, those conditions won't last forever. If you just stay in that safe place, ride out this storm for a few minutes, and once this moves past your location, you are going to be done with the threat here. But for now, if you are in that tornado warning polygon, we want you to remain in that safe place. I know it's likely very loud. We heard the thunder on Stephen's live stream there. But if you're in that safe place, you're away from windows, as many walls between you and the outside, you're going to be okay with this. And we'll keep monitoring to see any kind of indications that this is starting to ramp back up in intensity.
Let's take Bill's video again, Taylor.
Yeah.
Because I think this kind of tells the story. And again, as Taylor's talked about, the tornado, I believe, is lifted at the moment, which is a godsend. But the straight line wind potential will produce damage just like a tornado. What does it matter if the damage is a tornado or straight line winds? It really doesn't matter. So you stay in your tornado safe place, all right? We got a tornado warning remaining in effect for areas west and north of Hamilton, and we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for much of Marion County. And we also note the Weather Service has posted a warning for Lamar County as well. If you're in Sulligent or Vernon, you've got a severe thunderstorm warning, again, for the potential of strong straight-line winds. This wind could easily produce tornado-like damage, and there is a chance that circulation could tighten up again. All right, and again, for those just watching us, this is a live look at the weather conditions in Hamilton up in Marion County. If we can, Dennis, I want to take WEXO 5 real quick. I want to show what this line looked like coming through the northwestern part of the state. This is from Florence. And the person that sent me this video, they are telling me that they've got damage there. Now, Florence and Sheffield, Tuscumbia, Muscle Shoals, they were under a tornado warning earlier. That rotation has moved to the east of there. But again, this is what it looked like coming through the Shoals area early tonight. And again, there are reports of damage with this particular thunderstorm. In fact, I'll just read off what Jordan McCollum is telling me on this. He's saying that they've got reports of lots of damage behind Sam's Club in Florence, lots of damage at their apartment complex, fences down, roof damage, huge hail. 2x4s have been blown into multiple cars. And again, that's from the video that you just saw earlier coming from Florence. And I'm afraid that's the kind of damage that we could easily see in Marion County from straight line winds. And again, we've got the double box going here so you can see in real time what's happening in Marion County and what the radar looks like. And again, the radar shows, let's look at the reflectivity real quick, Taylor. It looks like almost a bookend vortex kind of thing here. Not really looking at the reflectivity, but still the debris ball is gone. The tornado indication is gone. Great. But again, let's go back to velocity. And again, some of these velocities, and this is coming from Columbus Air Force Base. The radar is not that far away. Some of these velocities are suggesting winds at the surface could exceed 70 miles an hour. That's hurricane force, 75 miles an hour. So that type of wind is going to be passing through Marion County. It looks like the strongest wind is going to be north of Quinn's position, Stephen and Bill's position. You're seeing in the video there, north of Hamilton, really between Hamilton and Scottsville, then coming out in the general direction of Hackleburg. And again, if you're in Hackleburg, I would stay in your tornado safe place. The Weather Service is going to keep that tornado warning in effect. And again, so just stay in your safe place. And Taylor, do we know anything about Amory, Mississippi or Smithville so far?
I have seen someone shared a tweet that said that they have heard of significant damage and gas leaks. So that does sound like there was a tornado that went through that area. Of course, that is also where we had that debris signature. And that's when we had the really strong indication of debris, not only in the correlation coefficient, but we could see the debris and the reflectivity. And that's when we had that really strong signal on radar there. That radar presentation looked very different than the way it does right now. We're still tracking that damaging wind threat here, but in terms of the tornado potential, it does appear lower right now with what we're looking at on the radar here compared to what we saw back in Amory. But unfortunately, it does appear that we'll likely start to see some more reports coming out of that area as crews have time to kind of get to the scene, assess the damage, assess the scene, and we'll be watching for more reports of that as they continue to come in over the next few minutes, few hours. here as well. So as we look at Stephen and Bill's feed there, you can definitely tell very windy. Got a lot of lightning. Once again, as James was mentioning, it is likely that the strongest winds associated with this are going to stay just to the north of their current location. We've got some strong winds headed in the Pig Eye direction, but even south of where the strongest winds are, where we've got Stephen and Bill right now, you can tell I mean, it's nasty. This is a severe thunderstorm at the very, very least. And we could see some trees come down from this, and we could see some power lines come down. So that's why it's important that you're remaining in that safe place as we move through the next few minutes and we track this system to the northeast. Worth noting, the tornado warning has been extended north of here, so it's now including Russellville, Phil Campbell. So in case this system does cycle, they've decided to issue that downstream warning as the course of least regret, of course, because of the history of this tornado and because it's had a history of cycling. That is why the National Weather Service has chosen to do that. So let's go ahead and head over to Stephen. Stephen, what are the conditions like right now? Obviously, it looks like it's deteriorating.
It is deteriorating. The wind is picking up significantly. You mentioned the straight line winds. We are seeing those now. I'm seeing lights starting to flicker, and I've at least seen one power surge on the horizon so far. This is what you expect to see in a tropical storm or something of that nature in terms of how strong the winds are right now. You see here, look at this gust. As we are seeing heavy cloud to ground lightning right now, and we've seen at least a few cases of debris that has been, loose items here around town that are being blown around. So that gives you a sense. This is by far the strongest winds we've seen so far. That circulation that you mentioned that had cycled down is about 5 miles now due north of us. So this is the wind that's been associated with that storm that created a tornado earlier. And as you see the lightning, it appears behind us. I'm starting to see some more green flashes. So power is still on here. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, though, given the amount of winds the strength of the wind that we're seeing right now. It is blowing pretty hard, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Stephen. That's Stephen Quinn with Bill Castle. He's up in Marion County in the midst of this severe storm situation. And again, looking at the velocity, the good news, the tornado signature has really gone away for now. It could ramp back up at any minute. But again, the concern now, it's straight line winds. Straight line winds here could exceed hurricane force. That's over 75 miles an hour. And those stronger winds coming right up here into Hackleburg. And understand, this is the same storm that came through Smithfield, Mississippi and Amory, Mississippi earlier. And we all know the similar track that we experienced April 27, 2011. This is nothing like that. But again, you could see enough wind to cause some structural damage with this. This is straight line wind. And again, the tornado could ramp back up at any minute. And the Weather Service in Huntsville, because of that, they posted a tornado warning for Franklin County. This includes Phil Campbell and Russellville, as that broad circulation will be crossing over into Franklin County. But again, if you're in Hackleburg, stay sheltered. All of this is passing really north of Hamilton here. Give me about 5 minutes. I'll give you an all clear. The weather is rotten in Hamilton. You saw Quinn's live shot. It's not good. But again, you don't have to shelter from just rain or non-severe wind. You want to stay sheltered from strong winds. But again, this is a really, really rough batch of storms. The wind dynamics are so impressive with this. But again, especially if you're north of Hamilton back up toward Hackleburg, you got to stay sheltered. I know it's not convenient. Let's look at the reflectivity one more time on this, Taylor. And again, this is velocity. We'll go back to the reflectivity. And you can see that heaviest rain is going to be tapering off. In fact, it's already starting to taper off parts of Hamilton right now. And once this line passes, that's it. You really don't have any additional risk of severe storms, most likely. What you see back in Mississippi, these are all flash flood warnings. I mean, there's a oodle of flash flood warnings back in through here, but the tornado threat is mainly into northwest Alabama now. There's a tornado warning up here for northern Limestone County. This is for areas north of Athens up toward Elkmont and the Tennessee state line. And that could be scooting across northern Madison County, north of Huntsville. And again, the other concern, it's what's coming through Marion County right now. And again, that's going to be coming up into Franklin County. We don't believe at the moment there's a tornado in the storm, but there are very, very strong straight line winds. And again, we also notice we have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect now for northern Lamar. This is basically from Sulligent north. And we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for other parts of Marion County. This comes down toward Guin and Brilliant for the possibility of damaging straight line winds. And again, all the blue polygons back in Mississippi, those are flash flood warnings in effect here. So, and again, let's look at our tornado watch. Well, let's do kind of a reset while we have just a second. I want to show the tornado watch. The counties in yellow are involved in this watch. This is until 3 a.m., and the watch includes DeKalb, Marshall, Cullman, Walker, Fayette, and Lamar counties, and counties north up into Tennessee. Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston not in a tornado watch. It looks like the better conditions, the combination of shear and instability, what you need for tornadoes might be a little north of Birmingham, north of Tuscaloosa, north of Anniston, north of Gadsden. There is still some chance you could see severe storms in those cities after midnight tonight, but the better chance of a tornado in the counties in here in yellow until 3 a.m. Storms will be moving through the entire northern half of the state after midnight. You're going to get a storm if you're in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, Gadsden after midnight, and it's going to be windy, and they could be severe, but the greater tornado threat will be in the yellow counties you see here in the tornado watch. And again, you can see our tornado warning for northern Limestone and the tornado warning for northern Marion and for parts of Franklin counties. So let's go back to our northern Marion County storm. And again, that's the one storm that is in our television market. And this same storm has produced a lot of damage. We know in the northern side of Amory, Mississippi. I'm getting a lot of traffic about damage in the northern side of Amory and some damage on the southern side of Smithville, and tremendous amounts of damage in parts of Silver City and Rolling Fork. Those communities are in the southern part of the Mississippi Delta that came through a couple of hours ago from this same storm. And again, this storm was absolutely horrifying looking as it came into, it was approaching Alabama, but the tornado occluded and lifted. And at this point, we don't believe there's a tornado here. There's no tornado signature here, but the winds are just screaming in through here. And if we can, let's go back to Stephen Quinn, who is in Hamilton. Stephen, it looks like conditions are going to start to settle down for you pretty soon. What's it like there now? We might not have Stephen available. Seeing some reports coming in from Jeff Piotrowski, friend. Jeff is reporting people trapped in a farmhouse northeast of Winona from this same parent storm. Her husband, a woman reported her husband was in the woods buried in the rubble. And search and rescues are ongoing across the state of Mississippi in places like Winona and Silver City and Rolling Fork and Amory. And we can't be much more specific about, the injury count or if we've lost any lives. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow morning. But again, it's been a very, very, very rough night for our friends in Mississippi. And again, the key, the reason we are here, the reason we do this is we're trying to mitigate loss of life. And by heeding these warnings and paying attention, you can do that. We can all do this together. And again, it looks like the conditions are starting to improve in Hamilton. Let's go back to the radar. And again, we're watching the velocity really carefully, and we see no evidence of any tornado in through here, which is great news. I know we have tornado warnings. And again, you can see with the reflectivity, the heaviest rain is now falling and coming into Phil Campbell, right on top of Hackleburg, moving into Bear Creek here, around Phillips High School, and then curving down toward Ewan. So the rain is tremendous, then curving back into Lamar County, around Detroit, down toward Sulligent. Tremendous amounts of straight line wind, and we have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for much of Marion County and northern Lamar. But again, the good news we can tell you at the moment, we do not have any indication of a tornado with this storm. It could ramp back up at any minute. We all know that. It's happened. This is a storm with a long, long history of producing really catastrophic damage in Mississippi. And we are extremely blessed that it just lifted when it got into Alabama in Marion County. But the straight line wind still could produce a lot of damage, a lot of tree damage, some structural damage. And we'll see how long the Weather Service decides to hang on to these tornado warnings here. But let's kind of expand the view, Taylor. Let's look back into Mississippi. And again, let's see if we have any other tornado warnings in effect. And I don't think we do. Again, you can see the line extends back into Mississippi, and we have no severe thunderstorm warnings in Mississippi at all. That's great news. No tornado warnings, no severe thunderstorm warnings. We have just a lot of rain falling here in the Golden Triangle, Clay County, around West Point, down towards Starkville, then back down toward Interstate 55, north of Jackson. All of the tornado warnings that are active are currently in Alabama. We've got a tornado warning again for Marion and Franklin, and one up here in Limestone, or in northern Limestone County. But again, let's go back in closer and we'll take a look at the velocity, which tells us the story. And I'm telling you, this thing just looked horrible when it was over Amory, Mississippi. But at this point, we just don't see any real strong evidence of a tornado here. But as long as these polygons are defined by the Weather Service, there's a reason they have them there. And I think the reason they have them there is the fact that this might ramp back up at any minute, and that's the right thing to do. So if you're sheltered, you need to stay sheltered until Taylor draws the magic X on these things, which means they're done. And she's not done that yet. And again, even without a tornado signature here, the winds are just absolutely tremendous in these storms. Taylor, any updates from you on damage so far?
I'm starting to see just more folks reporting that there has been damage in Amory, which we've been talking about, and that's, as you mentioned, was when the signature of tornado debris being lofted was there. That's when we had that debris ball. At this point, across Marion County, there have been a couple of reports of some trees and power lines down. That could be possibly due to some of those straight line winds as the storm was coming through. So we'll keep an eye on some of those reports as well. So we could have some power outages in Marion County. So we'll be watching that. It does appear, though, at this point, some of the strongest winds moving just north of Hackleburg. Those are crossing over into Franklin County at this point. And so if you are in Marion County, your conditions will be improving here fairly soon. And it is likely I think it goes till 11:45. So this tornado warning will probably be allowed to expire in the next few minutes because there is not at this point any kind of indication of rotation with this, especially nothing like what we saw back into Mississippi when this warning was first reissued. So this has been a long track supercell type storm that produced a tornado across couple different tornadoes at times across Mississippi. Fortunately, as it moved into Alabama, it appears it has weakened, and so far we haven't seen this ramp back up. So that is great news. But the latest is that I've just seen more reports coming in from Amory. So, of course, it does appear that there has been some damage there, especially on the northern side of Amory. That's where I've seen some of those reports coming in from so far.
All right, so again, it's 11:38. And we're watching live video coming from Marion County, where they've been under a tornado warning. And again, this is from Stephen Quinn. Can Stephen hear me up there now? Stephen, can you hear me?
Yes, James, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
Go. You're good.
Yeah, well, every time the gusts appear like they're going to slow down, we get another round right now as I speak. It's certainly not as strong as it was when I talked to you about 10 minutes ago. You had mentioned that the National Weather Service had said gusts could reach 80 miles an hour. I don't know if we reached quite that high, but I can tell you it packed a significant punch, which shows you just how dangerous even a severe thunderstorm warning can be. We're here downtown, and I mentioned that debris was being kind of picked up, loose debris here downtown, but you also think about people in houses out in other parts of this county. You think about people in manufactured housing. Certainly what we experienced 10 minutes ago would be enough to cause damage to those in the right conditions, which is why you got to be careful out here. Even if the tornado itself had cycled down, this still packed a punch, and those winds that we saw now, based off what the radar we're looking at, are moving over Hackleburg and other parts of the county now, so they're seeing that as well. Those people obviously could be in a situation, if you're not in your safe space right there, where those winds could be serious. As you see right now, the lights are still on here. I've seen police coming through this area. The lights flickered during the heaviest, intense portion of the gust that we saw, but right now everything is holding steady, so that's certainly a comfort to the people here. But certainly pales in comparison to what's going on to the people in Mississippi that you guys have been talking about.
Yeah, and that's great news. Again, the news is all good from Alabama so far. And Stephen, we'll check back with you in just a second. And again, that's live coming from Marion County, where it's raining, but we can deal with rain. Rain in itself is not dangerous. It's a good thing to get rain. So again, we've got just a very, very small part of Marion County under a tornado warning now. So let's give an all clear. Hamilton and points north and west, except for Hackleburg. You're still in the polygon. The only part of Marion County in the polygon, it's Hackleburg back over toward Bear Creek. All right, so Hackleburg, Bear Creek, you're in the polygon. We do not have any other tornado warnings for our area. There is one for Franklin County. This includes Phil Campbell and points north. And again, the circulation is really broadened through here. Let's expand the view. Let's look at our severe thunderstorm warnings we have here. And we've got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for northern Lamar, and this is for strong straight line winds, and a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for much of Marion County. We do not have any warnings so far for Winston or for Fayette. Warnings could be required. These are severe thunderstorm warnings. But again, within this line of severe storms, at the moment, there is no evidence of a tornado. That could change at any minute, okay? But at the moment, we see no evidence of a tornado. But still, because of the history of this storm and the damage it's caused back in Mississippi and the respect for this storm, the Weather Service in Huntsville and Birmingham, they're leaving in these tornado warnings for Hackleburg and Phil Campbell, back up to Russellville, over to Bear Creek, in case the thing happens to ramp back up. But again, the greatest concern, it's not tornadic winds, but straight line winds. But again, let's give an all clear for Hamilton, Interstate 22, you're good to go. The rain is horrible. It's pouring. It's not a good night to drive, but the tornado threat is ended for Interstate 22 in Marion County for now. And again, you can come out of your safe place if you're in Hamilton. That circulation that prompted the warning is about to cross into Franklin County. It's near Hackleburg, and it's very, very, very broad, okay? In fact, let's look at our velocity up here, Taylor. We'll take a look at what it looks like in Hackleburg. And again, this is no tornado signature here. This is just a high wind signature. The winds are really, really screaming here. But again, this is not representative of a tornado. This is representative of damaging straight line winds. And we are so fortunate, and we do see that there, and I think if there's any spot that you're going to watch, it's right here, which is east of Hackleburg, which, you know, again, that's starting to ramp up again a little bit. That looks fairly decent. But again, straight line wind damage is the greatest concern at the moment. But there might be a tornado trying to get its act back together again east of Hackleburg. And like we've talked about, this is why the warning stays in effect. It might ramp back up at any time. And again, until we get that X on here, we can X you out. You need to stay sheltered. Soon, this circulation is going to be across the line in Franklin County. But if you're in Phil Campbell, you need to be in your shelter. If you got a tornado warning, what do? Respect the polygon. And if you're in that polygon, you go to your safe place. You're not in a mobile home. You're not in a car. And in your safe place, in a site-built home, everybody's going to wear helmets. Because most people that are seriously injured in tornadoes, it's blunt force trauma to the neck and shoulder and skull region. And that really, really, really increases your chance of being safe. A bicycle helmet, batting helmet, motorcycle helmet, football helmet. All of that is great. And it's important, okay? Let me tell you what, if we would have stressed this a long time ago, a lot of people would be alive today that lost their life in tornadoes. Again, strong straight line winds across much of Franklin and extreme northern Marion County, and we might see this tornado trying to get its act together again to the east of Hackleburg now. Again, between Hackleburg and Bear Creek near the Franklin County line. And that circulation is going to be crossing over into Franklin. And again, we'll watch with each volume scan. Let's look at the CC to see if there's a lowering here. I'll kind of keep my finger on the same point. We'll go to correlation coefficient, and no, there's no debris being lofted. And again, I don't think there's a tornado there, but there might be one. And it takes a while for that debris to kick up to the levels where the radar can see that. So just be aware that, and we got a severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, for Winston that has been issued here. So let's look at reflectivity. Let's take a look at Winston County here, Taylor. This is going to be a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for probably most of Winston. Again, you can see the warning. This is for the northern two-thirds of Winston County. This is US 278 right here, kind of the main east-west highway through Winston County, and that's for the potential for damaging straight-line winds. That line is coming into Haleyville right now, and that'll be sweeping through places like Double Springs, Addison, and the rest of northern Winston County. And this is Smith Lake right down in through here. And again, we just don't see any evidence of tornadoes, and it looks like the warning is over now for Marion. So if you are in Hackleburg, we'll give you an all clear from any tornado danger. If you're in Bear Creek, and again, the weather is not good, I know that. There's thunder and there's lightning and it's raining. We're giving you an all clear from the danger of a tornado. That's what this all clear is for. So Bear Creek, Hackleburg, and the rest of Marion County, the tornado warning is off the board. It's been canceled. So again, at this point, we have no tornado warning in effect for any part of Marion County. It's 11:45. It expired. We do have a tornado warning in effect now for the southeastern part of Franklin County. This includes Phil Campbell. This is the Huntsville television market, by the way, for what could be a tornado trying to get its act together again. But again, the warnings now are all severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, the warning for Winston has expired, the severe thunderstorm warning. So these are the current warnings we have in our TV market. If you're watching us on the TV side, severe thunderstorm warnings for a pretty good chunk of eastern Marion and the northern two-thirds of Winston County. There's a severe thunderstorm warning for Franklin County, north of Winston County, up in the Tennessee Valley. And let's look at the Tennessee River. I want to see if the warning is still up here near the Tennessee state line. And I think that is off the board now. So the only tornado warning in the whole state is this one, and that's off the board. I like it when she draws that X.
It looks like they just canceled it cancels tornado warning for Franklin.
Great. So again, it's just not there. There's no tornado there. And they kept it for a while to see if it's going to recycle. So if you're in Phil Campbell, you're good. So here's a big picture now. Since we have no tornado warnings anywhere in the whole country, Alabama, Mississippi, at the moment we have no tornado warnings, and that is great. We hope it stays that way all night. I can't guarantee that's going to happen, but boy, we had a scary situation. If you're just joining us here, we're coming up on midnight. We had a very violent tornado that came through Amory, Mississippi, paths near Smithville, Mississippi, and the circulation was extreme, just extreme, a large destructive tornado, and it dissipated as it hit the state line, the Alabama-Mississippi state line. And we've had no tornado damage. We might have some straight line wind damage in Marion, but we've had no tornado damage in Marion County. This is Marion County right now, and it's windy, it's awfully wet, thunder, lightning, but everything is sub-severe, which is just what you want it to be. And remember this, the definition of a severe storm, the criteria, it is 58 mile per hour winds or greater, or hail 1 inch in diameter or larger. That's what makes a storm severe. It doesn't have anything to do with thunder or lightning or weird-looking clouds or whatever mood people are in. That's it. Large hail, damaging wind. And at the moment, the storms where they are in Hamilton are under that criteria. The warning, the severe thunderstorm warning, is mainly now for the eastern part of Marion and the northern two-thirds of Winston County. So let's go back to the radar. We're coming up on the midnight hour here. This is James Spann with Taylor Sarallo. We're doing an overnight severe weather event. And you can see for Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, things are pretty quiet. And the greatest tornado threat overnight tonight, it looks as though it's going to be staying north of Tuscaloosa, north of Birmingham, north of Anniston. Let's pop the tornado watch back on here, and you'll see where the SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, believes we have the greatest chance of a tornado, and that's in the counties in yellow here. So we have a tornado watch in effect for DeKalb, Marshall, Cullman, Walker, Fayette, and Lamar, and counties north up to the Tennessee state line until 3 a.m. And within the tornado watch, all of the warnings are currently severe thunderstorm warnings. There's not a single tornado warning in Alabama or any part of the Deep South or any part of the United States at the moment, which is great. We have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect now for Marion, for the northern two-thirds of Winston, for parts of Franklin, for parts of Lawrence, Limestone, and Madison counties. Not a tornado warning, but a severe thunderstorm warning. And again, like we've talked about, if a tree is going to come on your house, does it really matter if it's a tornado or straight line wind? You just need to be in a safe place. And again, with these warnings, the greatest concern, it's the damaging straight line wind. So let's pop the reflectivity back on here. And understand, if you're in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, you are going to deal with this line later tonight, after midnight, in the middle of the night. And it's going to be windy, and we're going to have, possibly enough wind to cause some scattered tree and power line damage. But if you're south of Interstate 20, the odds of a tornado are not that great. The greater chance of a tornado, quite frankly, is north of Interstate 59, north of Tuscaloosa, north of Birmingham, north of Gadsden, where the better wind dynamics are located tonight. And it has been a violent night in Mississippi. If you're just joining us, we've had major damage in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, in Silver City, Mississippi. These are towns in the southern delta. We've had major damage in Amory, the north side of Amory, Mississippi. We've had damage in the southern part of Smithville, Mississippi. Same parent storm, long-lasting supercell with really violent tornadoes, and it was coming right up on Marion County, and that thing occluded and lifted as it got into Alabama. So let's take a closer look at our activity up here in northwest Alabama. We have tremendous amounts of rain, thunder, lightning, loud, noisy. And again, you can see the main line has come on through Haleyville. It's come on through Bear Creek and Hackleburg. It's coming into Brilliant, coming into Ewan soon. It's going to be in Winfield. And Taylor, these things are loud, but so far at the moment, no evidence of a tornado.
Yeah, at this point, it looks like, we've just got mainly strong winds and heavy rain. So we'll keep watching right along the leading edge of this line for any kind of suspicious velocity signatures as this line keeps moving eastward. But for the time being, it does appear that we are at the moment not looking at any kind of tornado threat for the time being. Now that can change as this line keeps moving, but especially if you live in the northern half of Lamar County, you have seen some really heavy rain over the last few minutes. That does stretch through parts of Marion County into northwestern Winston. Across our part of the viewing area, we've got that two separate severe thunderstorm warnings. One that covers parts of Marion, one that covers much of Winston County, and at this point, we've seen a couple of reports of some possible trees down, some power line damage in Marion County as that storm was just crossing over from Mississippi into Alabama. But for now, I haven't seen any additional reports of damage, which is a great sign as these storms with strong wind keep moving across parts of Winston County now and in Lamar County. And as you can see that at one point there was a severe thunderstorm warning for Lamar County. That has been dropped. So for the time being, no tornado warnings, which is great. That's exactly what we want to see. That's what you can hope for, is that we don't have any kind of tornado warnings. And hopefully, if this continues on the way that it is right now, we could maybe potentially see some time here without any kind of warning. So we'll keep an eye on it. For the time being, the radar presentation is better, of course, than it was just a few minutes ago when we were tracking that tornado warning back in through parts of Mississippi. So over the next few hours, we're going to have to stay weather aware, of course. We're going to be here throughout the night watching this for you. But at the time, no signs of any kind of tornado activity across our part of the state, and no tornado warnings at all in our state, which is, of course, the best news.
Yeah, let's go to WEX 05 if we can. Dennis, want to show again some of the images. This is what the line looked like coming through Florence earlier tonight. And the gentleman that sent this in, he reported damage at his apartment complex. He reported 2x4s through some of the car windows. The winds were so strong up in the Shoals area. And again, I think this damage was related to straight line winds. There was a tornado warning at the time. And again, that's the same line that came through Marion, and now it's in Winston. It's the exact same line. Hang on, I pressed the wrong button here. Hang on one second, Dennis. Let's see if I can get the right picture here. I promise it's coming. Let's see. Yeah, let's go back to WEX 05 now. And again, this is some of the lightning. This is what it's looked like. And again, it's just been basically nonstop through the northwestern part of the state. There's fire in the sky. I mean, you can see these storms from many miles away. This is some of the damage that we've been seeing. You can see that's a large tree through some type of structure. Looks like that might be a home. And most of these images are coming in from Florence and the Shoals area, Tuscumbia. And again, this is related to strong, damaging straight-line winds that came through earlier tonight. And again, a lot of trees have gone down with the line here. So let's go back to the radar here as we approach the midnight hour. We have no tornado warnings in effect. No tornado warnings in effect for any part of Alabama. We have a line of severe storms now from near Athens over toward New Market, then curving back down toward Moulton in Lawrence County, then curving down here, approaching Double Springs in Winston County, coming into Winfield in Marion County, then approaching Vernon in Lamar County. On the leading edge of this, you can see that wall of water and the constant lightning. And the Weather Service offices in Huntsville and Birmingham have posted severe thunderstorm warnings for strong straight-line winds for the eastern part of Marion County, the northern two-thirds of Winston County, much of Lawrence County, and a small part of northern Limestone and Madison counties up here in the Tennessee Valley for the possibility of strong straight-line winds that could be enough to knock down trees and power lines. But this line will be moving steadily to the south over the next several hours. And ultimately, this will be reaching places like Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. But the greatest tornado threat, where you've got that good combination of shear and instability, is a little north of Tuscaloosa, north of Birmingham, north of Anniston, Gadsden. In fact, let's pop that tornado watch back on here one more time, and this will show the counties in yellow. This is where a tornado is most likely to occur overnight tonight. The southernmost counties in the watch would be DeKalb, Marshall, Cullman, Walker, Fayette, and Lamar, okay? So that's the southern extent of the tornado watch, and this tornado watch is in effect until 3 a.m. Now, I should mention the brown colors here to the south. That is a wind advisory. That's non-thunderstorm winds, gradient winds that might gust to 40, 45 miles an hour. It's awfully windy in advance of this line, but the greater chance of a tornado overnight is going to be in the counties in yellow. And a lot of people, let's put the radar back on, a lot of people that watch have weather anxiety. And that's a real thing. It's very real. It's not in your mind, it's real. And a lot of people have a hard time going to sleep. They might need to work tomorrow morning. They might need to get up to take a trip or to take their child to a ball game or something, and they have a hard time sleeping. For those that have anxiety that say in advance of the line, let's say you're in Cullman or you live on Smith Lake or you're in Jasper or Fayette, you know that line is going to come through. You know, instead of staying up, this is what I tell people all the time. If you are willing to make the investment in a weather radio, and I don't sell those things. I have nothing to do with them. That is a product that the Weather Service offers, and it's sold by private companies like Midland Radio. But if you're willing to make that $30 investment and get that weather radio and put it by your bed, let me tell you what, I don't care how much of a sound sleeper you are, that thing's going to wake you up. I mean, it is loud. And that way you know that you'll be awake if there's a warning. A lot of times with phones, we've been talking about this all day. You know, a lot of people with phones, it comes with this, do not disturb sleep mode thing where all the notifications are automatically turned off in the middle of the night. And you don't get the warnings on your phone, the notifications. So that weather radio, you'll get that. You'll get that. If you got that, you can go to sleep. And if there's a warning, that thing will wake you up. And if you turn us on, there's a tornado warning, we'll be here. So that's what I like to tell people. You don't have to stay up all night. You don't have to do that, but some do, and that's fine. And we're glad you're here, all right? We'll just have an all-night party together, but again, you don't have to stay up all night for this. So let's look at the velocity, Taylor. Wanted to look, first off, we'll kind of leave this broad picture up, and let's take a look right in through here. This is going to be the storm that came through earlier, and we're kind of watching broad circulation. There's no evidence of a tornado here. But again, this is the same storm that produced that horrific damage in Rolling Fork and Silver City, Mississippi, the north part of Amory, Mississippi, the south part of Smithville, Mississippi. They've been hit hard tonight. And again, this could ramp up again. We hope it doesn't. It might not, but it might. But this is the same area here, but right now it's broad. There's no evidence of a tornado. And again, we'll just kind of keep an eye on that. This is Moulton. This is Lawrence County. And again, down below here, this is Ash Ridge. This is Winston County. This is Haleyville right down through here. But we'll just kind of see how that behaves coming up through Lawrence. But so far, so good. It's just rain and a lot of straight line wind and thunder and lightning, but we see no evidence of a tornado, but really strong gusty winds, no doubt about that. So let's pop on the Birmingham radar real quick. I just want to look at it from a different angle. We've been looking at the Columbus Air Force Base radar because it is closer. And again, yeah, there's just no evidence of any tornado activity here, which is good. So again, if you're in Double Springs, it's getting to you now. Very windy, strong winds, maybe gusting to 50, 55, 60 miles an hour. That's the reason you've got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect here. It's coming into Winfield, same thing. You might have strong wind gusts. The Weather Service opting not at the moment to post warnings down here in southern Marion. And again, these are all severe thunderstorm warnings. I know that typically when you see James and Taylor doing our thing here, there's a tornado warning in effect. We don't have one right now, but it's a Friday night, and I don't even know what would normally be on television, maybe a Ginsu knife commercial or Pocket Fisherman or something, but we have a little more freedom to go on television where there's no pressure, where we're making people mad by cutting off, Wheel of Fortune or Freak of the Week or something. So Dennis in the back, he likes the pocket. I would love to have a Pocket Fisherman. I would love to have one of those things. That's about to say, they're probably collector's items right now. So again, we are now past midnight, so it's Saturday morning. Welcome to the weekend. James Spann with Taylor Sarallo here, and we're working a late night severe weather event. We came on the air with some urgency. If you watched us, it was serious. We had a very violent storm that was coming through Amory, Mississippi, making a beeline for Marion County, Alabama. and it came through the north side of Amory with a lot of major damage. It came through the south side of Smithville, Mississippi with a lot of damage. But by golly, that thing just wrapped up, occluded, and dissipated right as it moved into Alabama, and it went away. So we've had wind and rain and horrible conditions. Hey, let's take Bill's camera real quick if we can while I'm talking. This is what they're doing is looking for storm damage. This is in Hamilton up in northwest Alabama. Just wanted to show you what it looks like in the core of the storms. And obviously it's very wet, it's very windy, a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. This is what a lot of people are experiencing up there in the northwestern part of the state right now. But again, we have no tornado warnings, which is certainly a good thing. And again, that is pretty much right in the middle of downtown Hamilton. So let's go back to the radar, and again, I'll kind of keep an eye on their camera. They're going to see if they can find any damage. It looks like the power is on there, which is a good thing. But again, we're going to watch that little pendant right there. Let's look at this, Taylor. And again, I don't think we have any velocity problems with that, but let's go into Winston County, just north of Lynn. No, there's nothing there. You have to look for those little hooks and pendants, and sometimes that's the beginning of the storm, the updraft trying to rotate and the inflow coming in and ultimately a tornado, but it's just not there. And the higher wind velocities are up here in Lawrence County, but it's still pretty windy through parts of Winston and Marion where it's just pouring rain here. I mean, it's just absolutely pouring rain. And again, I'd say this stuff's going to reach Birmingham probably about, I don't know, between 1:30 and 2 o'clock this morning. Same thing for Tuscaloosa. And if you're in those cities, Anniston, Gadsden, maybe 3 or 4 o'clock this morning. And if you're in those cities, just be aware that it's going to come through. But the better tornado threat will be north of those major cities, north of Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Anniston, Gadsden overnight tonight. And understand the tornado chance is not zero in those cities, but it's awfully low. And as I look at more of the damage reports coming in Alabama, so far it's mainly just trees down, which is good. Goodness, if we can get away with just trees down, compared to what I've seen in Mississippi, that is a really, 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 really good thing. And again, I'm looking at let's go to Bill's camera real quick. This apparently is an awning or some type of sheet metal that came off a building in downtown Hamilton. Is Quinn on the line? Can we talk with him? Stephen, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, James.
Yeah, what you got?
Yes, I can. This is some metal roofing right now. We are in the parking lot of the Hamilton United Methodist Church. This is where this ended up, but it appears you see the power line that's down and the damage from what appears to be another building across the street, which is directly next to the Marion County Commission building. And this speaks to the wind and the strength of the wind that we saw earlier with those straight line winds that you saw live on our coverage a little bit ago. The National Weather Service saying some of those winds could have packed up to 80 miles an hour. I don't know if they were that strong, but I can certainly tell you they were strong enough to do this. And what you're seeing right now is certainly some people now starting to drive around and look at the damage. I have seen a number of Hamilton police officers here now kind of going through. The rain is picking back up. The wind is perhaps maybe not as strong as that first gust, but it's still packing a punch. And as I show this shot right here, you can see some of the damage downtown. Now, despite what we're dealing with right here, as you can see, we do have power, but if you look right here, we're about to follow this. You're seeing fire trucks and police officers with lights on their way, as well as other personnel. This is the street department here with the city of Hamilton. We're going to follow right now, trying to get a sense of some of the damage. Power is on downtown, but you can imagine that wind may have caused some other damage. And just look at the windshield right now, James. I mean, the rain is coming down in buckets right now.
Yeah, the rain rates are tremendous in these storms, and again, thankfully, the rain rates will decrease there over the next hour. And again, really and truly, the tornado threat is practically over for Marion, as now it's just a rain event and still winds. But again, conditions there will gradually improve over the next hour or so. But the type of damage that we're seeing on Stephen and Bill's camera there, I'm afraid we have this in other counties, in parts of Franklin County and maybe parts of Winston or Lamar counties with that line. It's a linear type thing, and again, we have no tornado evidence at this point, none, but you can see that line of storms now stretching from Lawrence County right down through Winston, down to Double Springs, Natural Bridge, back up to Haleyville, into Marion. And again, the rain will be decreasing in Hamilton really soon. The weather will be improving tremendously at Stevens' location, I'd say maybe 10, 15 minutes. but it's pouring at Winfield, pouring at Guin. And again, that line is going to be sagging to the south. But within that line, we could see strong winds, maybe enough to cause damage. Obviously, they did. Now, the warning has been dropped for Hamilton. The warning has expired, the severe thunderstorm warning. So the only active warning of any type for our TV market is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect now for the northern part of Winston County. And remember to be severe. The winds have to be 58 miles an hour. So looking again through a lot of the reports we're seeing here, looks like we just had a wind gust to 51 knots at the Haleyville Airport up at Posey Field. So that would be about 58 miles per hour. So again, that's an example of the kind of winds we're seeing. So again, a wind gust of about 58 miles per hour at Haleyville with this line of storms. And again, we do have reports that confirm what we just saw from Stephen and Bill of multiple reports of trees and power lines down and some roof damage in Hamilton. And again, we just don't see any evidence of a tornado at this point. So let's go down to the south. I want to look at Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, real quick, Taylor. Down here we have showers and thunderstorms around. These are heavy showers, but really nothing severe at all. I know there could be some thunder, there could be some lightning, it's pouring, but there's absolutely no severe weather issues in Jefferson, Tuscaloosa, Walker, Fayette, or Pickens counties at this point. These are just heavy tropical type showers. So again, I just wanted to show that. We've got that going on here, but we have no warnings. If we had warnings, we'd focus on that. That's the reason we're here. And the only warning we've got, one, it's this one right here for the northern two-thirds of Winston County up in North Alabama for that line that's sagging to the south, coming into Smith Lake. And it's going to be in Cullman here in about 30 minutes or so. The warning technically runs until 12:30 for about the next 22 minutes for Winston. And we've got warnings for northern Madison, parts of northwestern Jackson, up in the Tennessee Valley, and really that's about it. And if you look in Mississippi, there are no tornado warnings. There are no severe thunderstorm warnings, which is great news, Taylor. That's an encouragement to me. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is best case scenario at this point. We've seen that watch being trimmed from the west. And I do expect it'll continue to be trimmed for our counties as this line moves through. At this point, really best case scenario with a line of heavy rain, a lot of thunder, and we've got some gusty winds, but this isn't even a situation where we've got severe thunderstorm warnings along the entire leading edge. We've got one severe thunderstorm warning right now for parts of the storm that are moving through Winston County, but farther towards the west, I mean, this is just a general thunderstorm. It does not meet the severe criteria, and if we can make it through the rest of the night with this same kind of pattern, that's going to be a good thing. We don't want to see the warnings. We don't want the severe weather. So if we can continue on this same pattern with not much in the way of warnings, that's going to be a really good outcome for this situation, because we did have the ingredients to have severe weather this evening. Of course, the National Weather Service has been talking about that all week long. We've been talking about it all week long. And this time of year, you really have to watch everything very carefully. Something that is new that just came in is we do now have a flash flood warning, and that's going to be along this little leading edge here of this line that covers parts of Lamar, Marion, northwestern Fayette, and parts of Winston County. That's going to last through 3:15. So rainfall rates very heavy with this. This line is kind of slowed down a little bit in its motion, so it's taking a little bit longer to move, and so that's giving it some more time to dump heavy rain, and so we could have some higher rainfall rates within that leading edge, and so minor flooding could be a problem. Please don't drive over any kind of roads that have water over them. If you can avoid being out and driving in general, that's going to be your best bet. But if you do come across a road that's covered in water, please do not drive over it. You don't know what the road looks like underneath that water. It could be washed away. It puts you and those who have to come get you out of your car in danger, and it's just you can really prevent any kind of injury by just not driving through that water. So of course that's always what we advise you to do. Is I know it's inconvenient to find a different route, but please just try to find a different route. So for the time being, we're watching that one severe thunderstorm warning, now a new flash flood warning that covers parts of our area. And pretty soon, I do expect that we'll start to see some counties removed from this watch as that line keeps tracking slowly towards the east here over the next few hours or so.
All right, so 12:11, and we're into Saturday morning. James Spann here with Taylor Sarallo. And I tell you what, Dennis, let's go to WEX 05. We can do that real quick. I want to go to some of the images. This is video coming from Florence in the Shoals earlier tonight. And again, we are watching the lightning strikes. And again, there was a tornado warning in effect. And you have to wonder, could we have a tornado here? It is so hard to tell at night. I honestly don't think so in that shot. But it might be, and again, if we had a small tornado up there, it's going to be rain wrap. But there's been some damage up in the Shoals with trees down and power lines down. I've not heard of any major structural damage. But again, that's certainly, it looks like potential where that might be a tornado that came through the Shoals earlier tonight. There was a tornado warning. This is a tornado warned storm. And this is basically how you spot at night. You have to wait on lightning to illuminate the right rear flank of a storm where there could be potential for a tornado. So again, that's what it looked like up in the Shoals. Let's go back to Stephen Quinn live with some damage. Stephen, what you got up there?
Yeah, I just want to let you know what's going on right now. We are moving northward right now outside of downtown Hamilton. And what you're seeing is one of the issues that we're dealing with, which is there are trees down blocking some of the roads in our area. And we're going to give you another view here in just a moment. But I just got off the phone with police also, talking to them about what the situation looks like, and we're seeing at least multiple instances where trees are blocking roads. I also spoke to the chief of police in Hackleburg, Chief Kenny Hallmark. He told me that they do have trees and power lines down there in Hackleburg, as well as some power outages. What you're looking at right now are police in Hamilton, as I just move this camera real quick, who are trying right now to clear some of these downed trees in this area. So that's going to be an issue that appears to be playing out as we're starting to get more reports, James, across this part of Marion County where you have some trees that are blocking the roads, including where we were. This is Highway 17 we're on, James, making our way northward. We're about, I'd guess, 5 miles or so northeast of Hamilton, and you see our firefighters out here right now who are working to clear these trees. You can imagine what it would be like having to have driven through this if you were trying to navigate this in the middle of the storm. And also, if you're trying to go out right now and look at the damage, this is what these first responders are dealing with. They probably want people to stay off the roads because they still got to clear these. And this is certainly just one of these instances that is going on. The chief of police in Hackleburg did tell us that there was another instance where it appears that a car may have been trapped by some of these trees that have been knocked down, again, consistent with those straight line winds that we had seen that had moved through here that may have exceeded even as much as 80 miles an hour. So you see the police out here right now. We're going to go up there and try to get another vantage point and share some of those images with you. But this is what's playing out now that the storm has moved through.
All right, Stephen, thank you. And again, we'll check back with you here shortly. It is 12:15. James Spann with Taylor Sarallo. And again, wanted to mention again that at Posey Field, that's the airport up at Haleyville, they took a wind gust to about 58 miles an hour when this line came through. But the concern really is starting to shift from the wind to the rain here. We have flash flood warnings like Taylor's talked about here. Flash flood warnings in effect now for northern Lamar, for a pretty good chunk of Marion County, and for a pretty good chunk of Winston County, because the line is just slowed down to a crawl. And as you've been watching with the camera up there, the rain rates are just tremendous. So again, we could have some flooding problems developing in places like Winfield, Ewan, Haleyville, Double Springs, Lynn, Vernon, Sullivan, especially Sullivan. So again, flash flood warnings in effect here. We've still got the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Winston County. That's in effect until 12:30 for about the next 15 minutes. And we've got severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for parts of Lawrence, Morgan, Limestone, Madison counties. There is a tornado warning up in southern Tennessee for the northern part of that line. But through the night, the negative tilt upper trough will probably slowly creep northward with the better wind dynamics shifting north, which would lessen the tornado threat down here and increase the rain threat and maybe the chance of damaging straight line winds. So again, we have no active tornado warnings. I know when you turn on the TV and you see we're talking, there's typically a tornado warning, and there was one earlier for parts of Marion County. We had a very violent storm that was approaching the Alabama-Mississippi state line, but that tornado dissipated, and it wound up being a damaging straight-line wind event, and you can see some of the cleanup in progress now up in Marion County. These are first responders that are in the process of clearing roads, and let me tell you what, these guys are heroes. It's rough. You're out there with heavy rain falling, thunder, lightning popping, and you're trying to clear the roads. I believe that's Alabama Highway 17 north of Hamilton. We'll check again with Stephen here in just a second, but again, that's one problem with driving at night with this kind of stuff going on. You might round the bend and there's a tree down and it's dark and you can't see it. You come right up on it, you have a wreck. We've seen that over and over and over. But let's go up to Stephen. Stephen, is this on Highway 17, Alabama 17?
That's exactly where it is right now, James, and you're right, we're about 5 miles or so northeast of Hamilton. And you're right, this is exactly what it would be like. We are at a bend right here, and obviously there are trees down, and you see Bill there capturing some more images as this is what they're going to be spending the majority of the day doing. As I mentioned, I spoke to the chief of police in Hackleburg. They're dealing with the same thing right there now with trees down. We're also seeing at least one report of a potential person who'd been trapped in a vehicle by branches along Highway 278. That would be east of Hamilton. So suffice it to say, it's a fairly widespread example of trees and power lines that have been knocked down. We do know that there are power outages in Hackleburg, none at least in downtown Hamilton from where we were, as you saw us earlier. But the trees are down, and that's why it's so dangerous, as you mentioned, to be driving in the middle of this, because you just don't know when and where those trees are going to come down. But as you see right here, they do in fact come down with those gusts, as you mentioned, that we saw in Haleyville. So they're making work out here, but it's tough sledding.
All right, Stephen, thank you. And again, appreciate your work out in the field, you and Bill, tonight. I want to go to WEX 05 real quick. I want to show some video coming from Natural Bridge. This is in Winston County, and this is the line coming through. And for all of you on the leading edge of the line, it's basically looked like that. Thunder, lightning, tremendous amounts of rain, strong gusty winds. We've had no hail problems. It's been straight line winds. You saw the damage from Stephen and Bill up on their live camera up in Marion County. And again, that was what it looked like coming through Natural Bridge in Winston County earlier tonight. And again, this video is pretty fascinating. Taylor, you take a look at this now. Tornado, yes or no? This is Florence, and there was a tornado warning in effect, and there was a pretty decent couplet that came through. And
that's suspicious for sure.
Yeah, and if you kind of hang on to this and watch it for the next 30 seconds or so, that sure looks suspicious. I can't tell you. I mean, I'm not that good. I don't think anybody is, unless you go in there and look at the look at that.
Huh.
And again, this was taken, I will say this was probably about 10:15, 10:30 last night as the leading edge of the storms were coming through the Florence and the Shoals, and there was a tornado warning in effect. And we've got trees down. Now, there's been some damage with this storm, clearly, up in the Shoals. We've seen a lot of the trees down from that, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely very suspicious. There could be something going on there for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But this is how hard it is at night if you're a spotter. It's tough. If you ever taken our spotting classes, we talk about this. I mean, good luck. We don't, quite frankly, we don't like to send spotters out in the field at night down here in the Deep South on a night like tonight because, quite frankly, it's just dangerous. You can't see anything. And, you can bring back, live video, and that's great, and we appreciate that. We need the video, but pretty interesting stuff. Here's a look at more of the, this is from the same area, Taylor. This is from, this might be some of the inflow into that tornado, if indeed that was a tornado. This was nearby. This is an apartment complex, and it's going to get pretty, it got pretty intense there earlier. You can see some of the tree damage up in that part of the state from the Shoals. And whether this is a tornado or not, we just don't know that yet. In fact, I got maybe one more video. Yeah, I want to show. This is the apartment video. At about the same time that other video was taken, it looked like a tornado. And you see that tremendous amounts of rain, perhaps inflow going into that storm. and there's some damage to those apartments, and 2x4s came through some of those car windows.
Oh, wow.
And where the 2x4s came from, we really don't know. And again, that's from the person that sent me these videos, and I appreciate everybody sending videos. Your videos are our window to the world. So 12/21, we have no active tornado warnings for any part of Alabama. There is one up here in southern Tennessee, and that is the only one. That's a small polygon south of Tullahoma. But where we are, the emphasis is kind of shifting maybe from severe storms to flooding. We have flash flood warning polygons in effect now for northern Lamar, for about the southern 2/3 of Marion, and for a pretty good chunk of Winston County, for those right in the path of this line. The line has just slowed its forward progression. And with the rain rates we've seen, there certainly could be some flooding. And again, the good news, you can see the rain has really tapered off. And once this line passes, you're done with the severe weather threat. The severe weather threat is over. For Hamilton, for Hackleburg, you're done. And again, Taylor's showing a little hook. What you got there?
Yeah, a little
hookish looking thing.
suspicious on there. We could see that could be a little bit of rotation trying to show up. So we're going to keep a close eye on that one. That is, it's not really co-located with where the little notches, but those are the, those are the little notches that we got to watch for right along the leading edge of this. And it could be one of those nights where we're watching for those. We're going to be here watching for those. But for the time being, it looks like we are okay on that, but I'm going to keep a close eye on that. I'll be watching that behind the scenes for you. So just something to keep an eye on. But as James was saying, for the time being, right now, it looks like the main threat is flooding. However, I should note, is that a new tornado warning north of our area?
Yeah, this is for Lawrence, Limestone, Madison, Marshall, Morgan.
Let's take us down there then, or up there, I should say. And we'll look at that. Maybe I can get a better view from high top. There is some rotation here, yeah, showing up. Right there is where we could see the potential for some.
Yeah, and just to get your bearing straight, this is in the Huntsville television market, but we want to show a lot of people, watch on the tweeter and the Facebag and the Talk and the Gram and all that stuff. They're anywhere. And so this is Morgan County here. This is Madison County here. Taylor's got the area circled here, potential for a tornado. And this is the same parent storm that produced the chaos in Mississippi. So this is Morgan County. Hartselle is right here. This is US 31. That's Interstate 65. Priceville is right here. In fact, Monday I will be at Priceville Elementary School. Can't wait to see the kids up there. But so we've got a tornado southwest of Priceville. This will most likely pass a little south of Decatur, crossing Highway 31 just north of Hartselle, coming very, very close to Priceville. And if it stays intact, it will be moving up into southern Madison County, probably south of Huntsville, crossing Highway 231 near the county line down here. And let me just say, this is not a classic tornadic signature. There certainly could be a tornado there, and the Weather Service in Huntsville believes there is. That's the reason there's a tornado warning here. But it's not like that violent circulation we saw with this same parent storm back over northeast Mississippi and over the southern part of the Mississippi Delta. Same parent storm that hit Rolling Fork and Silver City, and then it ramped down, then ramped back up again, and came through Amory and near Smithville, and then weakened again, and now it might be trying to ramp back up. So just don't get your eyes off the ball here. And again, like I've been saying, if you need to go to sleep, go to sleep. If you got a weather radio, you're good. That thing will wake you up. And we'll be around here. But again, this is a possible tornadic circulation that's about to cross US 31 between Decatur and Hartselle, then coming right up on the community of Priceville. And that's just south of the Tennessee River. The Tennessee River is right here. And if that stays intact, that will keep on moving up toward Triana and then US 231 around Brindley Mountain and perhaps over toward Owens Crossroads over here. Huntsville is right here. Huntsville is on the far northern part of this polygon, but Huntsville technically is in the polygon. So just wanted to show that. And again, this is in the Huntsville television market. Let me just say this. In the new world, you got a gazillion people on the Talk and the YouTube doing weather coverage, and that's great. The more people that can spread the word, that's great. but you really cannot effectively communicate a tornado warning unless you understand the people, the culture, the geography, and the microclimates. We would rather folks watch in Huntsville, watch your local meteorologist because they know it better than anybody else. And, I've been doing this here for a long time. And, there's a great advantage of staying in a certain place for a long time because you understand the people and their needs. But anyway, so this is covered by the Huntsville market. And again, we're going to come back up here in just a second. But let's go back down the line and kind of focus back on our television market. You can see the line of storms coming into the northwestern part of Cullman County. This is around Battleground and West Point. And again, we've got no warning yet for Cullman, but if there is one, most likely it's going to be a severe thunderstorm warning. And within that, you'll see very strong winds. It will absolutely pour down rain, just pour down rain. We don't see any evidence of a tornado here. The line extends through much of Winston County, absolutely pouring. Double Springs, Natural Bridge, Lynn, northern part of Smith Lake, Ash Ridge up here. Heavy rain still falling over much of Marion County, back into parts of Lamar County. And there's no evidence of a tornado in Winston, Marion, or Lamar. But there are some spots with strong winds. And again, for the next 2 minutes, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Winston County. This will expire at 12:30. I don't think they extend that. So for the moment, the issues here, they're shifting from damaging wind and tornadoes to flooding. We have flash flood warnings in effect now for much of Winston, Marion, and Lamar counties as this line is just kind of slowed to a crawl. And the rain rates are very tremendous, and there could easily be some flooding issues. So let's look at our velocity while we have this view on here. We'll just kind of take a broad look at the velocity and try and scan up and down the line. And again, you can see up and down this line, we see no evidence of a tornado. And by the way, this is the radar site in Columbus. That's not a tornado. That's the actual radar site where you've always got red and green merging over there. So just a whole lot of rain, gusty winds, thunder, lightning, flooding potential, maybe some trees down. We've had a lot of trees down earlier tonight when the storms were stronger. And these will be sagging to the south. We'll put the reflectivity back on. And again, they should be in the Birmingham Metro, Tuscaloosa, probably 1:30 to 2 o'clock, something like that, early this morning. And I think they're going to come through basically as just noisy, wet, heavy rain type storms. The tornado potential is decreasing, but it's certainly not zero. But let's go back up to our tornadic storm. And again, we do have one in progress up here in the Tennessee Valley. The better dynamic support for tornadoes slowly shifting north this morning. So let's go to our velocity display and see if we can pick out the tornado here. And again, it's going to be in the broad area just north of Hartselle and near Priceville, a little south of Decatur. This is in Morgan County in the Tennessee Valley. Again, you got Interstate 65 right here. The town of Hartselle is here. This is Falkville down here. And it's relatively broad. And, a lot of people would get cranky. Hey, I wouldn't be warning on that. Well, one of the things that goes into consideration when it comes to issue warnings, it's the history. What has this thing done in its previous hour or two? And this thing has produced horrific damage in Mississippi. This is the same parent storm that produced the tornado in Rolling Fork and Silver City. And the damage is really, really, really bad. We've had many injuries. I don't know if we've had loss of life. I'm afraid we have, but I don't know for sure. And then it ramped back up again and did the same thing on the north side of Amory, Mississippi, the south side of Smithville, Mississippi. Then it ramped down again once it got into Alabama. And so they're looking at its past performance, thinking if we're starting to see rotation, maybe we should pull the trigger on a warning and give people time to go to a safe place, especially those in a mobile home. So while it's not an overwhelming signature here, I think that's the reason we're doing this. So again, tornado warning for the northern part of Morgan County. This is basically from Hartselle up to Decatur. That broad rotation is near Hartselle, near Priceville, and coming across Interstate 65 right now. And I wouldn't want to be driving along Interstate 65 between the Tennessee River Bridge and the Thompson Road exit, which is right here, for about the next 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And again, that circulation will be coming out toward the far southern part of Madison County, ultimately crossing Highway 231 and 431 just south of Huntsville. And we'll see how the whole thing plays out. So let's pop the reflectivity back on here. And in addition to the chance of a brief tornado, it's just wet. I mean, it's pouring. This is not a good night to be driving one way or the other. Pouring rain up and down I-65. Elkmont down to Athens, Decatur, Priceville, Hartselle, Falkville, down toward Lacon and Cullman. And again, this is the only tornado warning we have in the whole state. So Taylor, any new damage reports from your end over there in the last 15 minutes or so?
I have seen.
And I should be. It looks like Cullman got under a severe thunderstorm warning finally. I see that.
Yes, yeah, they have issued a severe thunderstorm warning for Coleman, and I have seen a new report of some damage near Bear Creek. There are some trees down there, and there was actually a brief TDS that showed up on radar near Bear Creek. So there might have been a very, very brief touchdown of a tornado in Marion County near the Bear Creek community. And so far, we're starting to see some reports of some trees down that would be consistent with where we saw that TDS reported there. So that was one of those where you got 1 or 2 scans with indication of potentially a tornado on radar. So that is what we've seen recently being reported. Other than that, the channels are fairly quiet, which is good news. That's the best we can hope for. I will take a look at what we've got going on here from radar. I'm going to switch us back over here to the Columbus radar site just because that's closer here. But very heavy rain right now in Double Springs. And notice that these storms haven't really moved all that much. We're seeing really high rainfall rates with these. And so for that reason, we have the flash flood warning. I could actually, let's see here, I'll put on the accumulation and see if we can look at rainfall accumulation. And you can see some of these rates within the last couple of hours. So right now, kind of our focus, other than some strong winds moving through parts of Coleman County, has been the amount of rain we've seen. And I'm going to query some of these. Oops, that's not what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to do. 2.8, 2.9, 3 inches, so 2 to 3 inches of rain in a very short period of time. And these locations continue to pick up rain at this point. So we'll have to watch for some flooding concerns with this. And, you know, originally we expected this line to be moving very quickly. For the time being, it is not. And so that's why we've got those rain totals starting to add up at this point. Let me get that off the screen there. And so we'll talk more about, let's see here, this severe thunderstorm warning for Coleman County. That's going to last till 1:15 a.m. and that is for the possibility of strong winds. And that's going to be, of course, that leading edge that's now moving through northern Coleman County, northwestern Coleman County. Now this line will slowly drift eastward, and that will bring you the possibility of some strong winds. But in our part of the state, for our television viewing market, we have no tornado warnings. We are tracking 1 severe thunderstorm warning for Coleman County, and then we have flash flood warnings that cover parts of Lamar, Fayette, Marion, and Winston counties for that band of heavy rain. Stretching back into Mississippi, we are done with any kind of tornado warnings there, so we don't have any tornado warnings to our southwest that are going to be moving into central Alabama. The weather is improving there. The conditions are improving there. At this point, there are 2 tornado warnings on the board, one just north of our area. That includes locations just to the north of Hartselle. And then there's another small tornado warning polygon over parts of Tennessee. But other than that, so far, we've had just 1 tornado warning in our television viewing market for parts of Marion County. That's originally when we did come on the air for our long form coverage. And since then, we've seen some reports of some trees down, but so far, so good in terms of any kind of tornado damage reports across our part of the state.
All right, so let's go to WEXO 5. I want to show some images real quick. These are from Amory, Mississippi, from one of the first responders there. And again, you can see that there's been a lot of damage on the north side of Amory. And again, that's what it's been looking like over there. So it's been obviously a rough night. This is some of the images coming in from the shoals earlier tonight, Florence and Muscle Shoals. And again, I like that shot. That's kind of cool. See, we put that baby to sleep, Taylor. That's what we do. We're good at putting babies to sleep. If nothing else, we can do that. But again, this is some tree damage. I want to say this was in Ewan. Looks like maybe some type of a shed got blown over there with those strong straight line winds. So let's go back to the radar. It's 12:35. And we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect now for Cullman County. That's the one warning in terms of wind in our television market. And again, you can see Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, Gadsden, things are quiet. We always get people, hey, you're not showing me my town. If we're not showing your town, there's no severe weather. We focus on the weather that is dangerous. That's why we're on the air. And obviously things are quiet in the larger cities. Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, Gadsden. We've got this line that will be slowly coming in here. It might be 2 o'clock before it reaches Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Gadsden, maybe 3 or 4 o'clock for Anniston, something like that. It should slowly weaken with time, and it's been doing that, but we've still got one tornado warning up here. So let's go back into the Tennessee Valley. Let's go to Morgan County. We'll take a look at that one specific warning. And again, the Weather Service in Huntsville pulled the trigger on this a little earlier this hour, and it's awfully broad here. And again, this is coming from high top. This is the high top radar giving a pretty good look into it. And quite frankly, there is not a tornado signature here. And again, I think what happened, a couple of volume scans, the rotation tightened up, and the Weather Service hit the warning based on the history of this storm. And that's the right thing to do. But thankfully, it did not continue to ramp up. It ramped back down. So really, the main issue here is just strong winds. Is this line segment comes through parts of Morgan and parts of Madison and parts of Marshall counties up here in the northern part of the state up in the Tennessee Valley. So let's look back at the reflectivity. Velocity, no sign of a tornado. Reflectivity, just a whole lot of rain here with thunder and lightning. It's absolutely pouring. So heavy rain falling in places like Madison, Huntsville, down toward Hartselle and Faulkville and Morgan County, Priceville. And so let's kind of expand it out. We'll take a look and see where the rest of the line is. And we've got the severe thunderstorm warning for Cullman. Let's take a look at Cullman County. So there's no tornado warning here. This is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Cullman County. And you can see the leading edge has come on through places like Battleground and West Point. It's pouring there. It's coming through Vinemont right now. And that will be in downtown Cullman here in probably about 10 to 15 minutes. And again, within that, you're going to see some strong gusty winds. That's the reason for this severe thunderstorm warning. We've had some trees blown down in various sections of this line tonight. So you could see winds gusting to maybe 55, 60 miles an hour. You'll see tremendous amounts of rain, and you'll see a lot of thunder and lightning, and that'll be sagging southward, coming down through the rest of Cullman County, places like Baileyton, Holly Pond, Hanceville, Dodge City, Colony, Bremen, the rest of the county, Brushy Pond for the next hour or so. So again, that is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Cullman County for this line of storms, possibly producing strong straight line winds. There's no evidence of a tornado. The main concern, it's strong winds. So let's look at the rest of the line. We've got flash flood warnings in effect now for parts of Winston County, the blue polygons here, for parts of Marion County, northwestern Fayette, and parts of Lamar County for the possibility of flooding here. The heavier storms will be coming on into, in fact, it's raining in Jasper now. That's not the main line. It's some showers in advance of that. Jasper's got rain. That main line comes in here in about 30 to 45 minutes. Same thing for Fayette. You'll see the main line 30 to 45 minutes. And you'll see some gusty winds, heavy rain, but the good news, no evidence of a tornado. Let's go to Quinn's camera if we can. Let's see if Stephen's... Okay, again, we don't have Stephen hooked up right now. In fact, I think that's Stephen taking the pictures out there, but we've got some type of damage at a structure. Stephen's going to come back and talk with us. And again, this is what Bill and Stephen have been doing, is just kind of giving us some views of some of the damage up in that part of the state. So we'll get Stephen on the line here in just a second. I should know what building that is.
James, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, go.
Yeah, we're just down here. This is not just more than a block and a half from where we were earlier. And
First National Operations Center.
This is the First National Operations Center you're looking at here, James. And you can see the wind was so strong where we were. And I believe this was the wind that we captured on camera with you during our coverage earlier. And what you're seeing, as we're about to give you some more shots here, just debris that's all around and roofing in this alleyway here, which is right off of the main square here in downtown Hamilton. And despite all this, we still have power down here. I got to tell you, it was very quiet earlier, but traffic is certainly gearing up. You can tell that people are going out right now to try to take a look at what the storm has brought. Now that the wind and the rain has certainly subsided significantly from what we saw about an hour ago. As I mentioned, we're about to go to check on a report of a person who'd been trapped along Highway 278 but ran into this as well. So this just gives you a sense of just how strong those winds were associated with that cell that had spawned those tornadoes in Mississippi. Even though that was no longer a tornado, the winds certainly packed a punch here. I got to say though, James, I'm still surprised power was still on here in Hamilton. There are other parts of Marion County, however, including Hackleburg, where we do know that there are power outages right now.
All right, Stephen, thank you. And again, we'll check back with you again. Thanks to you and Bill for your work up there tonight. So it's 12:41. We are in the middle of covering a line of severe storms here on this early Saturday morning. And notice the Weather Service in Huntsville continuing to post severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. They've got one just coming out for Jackson and Madison counties up in the Tennessee Valley. Again, the only tornado warning we have is this one up here. This is for parts of Morgan and Madison counties. But again, quite frankly, the rotation has just really gone away. There's that new severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go back to this one real quick, and we'll look at velocity in Morgan County because a lot of people are watching us there. Rain, thunder, yes, but let's look at velocity, which will tell the story. And no evidence of a tornado at this point. That's strong winds, yes. Heavy rain, yes. Thunder, lightning, yes. Tornado, no, not at this point. But again, this is the same parent storm that did so much damage back in Mississippi. But right now, no evidence of a tornado. And again, we'll see if the Weather Service lets this warning go. Soon the storms will be out of the polygon one way or the other. But again, just a lot of rain falling in Huntsville, down across the river, down toward Lacey Spring, back over toward Priceville and Hartselle in Morgan County. But that's a good look right there. We'd like to see that. Again, when we came on the air, goodness, it was about 10:50, I think, last night. Taylor, that was nasty. Boy, that was bad. We had a horrible tornado signature, debris being lofted 10,000 feet. It was just bad. And this very scary storm that produced a lot of damage in the north side of Amory, Mississippi, and the south side of Smithville, Mississippi. And the thing occluded. Yeah, look at this. There's the hook right there. Watch this thing, all right? Watch what happens. It's going to come right on top of Amory. That's just terrifying. Debris ball right on top of Amory, just south of Smithfield. And then it occludes, comes into Alabama, and it's gone. Now, there's a lot of tree damage in Marion County. Understand that, a lot of tree damage, but in terms of the tornado, it occluded right before the state line, which is a good thing. And this is the same parent storm that did tremendous amounts of damage on the other side of Mississippi, the southern part of the Delta, Rolling Fork and Silver City. But look at that thing, right on top of Amory, the north side of Amory, south side of Smithville. And then it wraps up, chokes itself off, and occludes. And and of course, we had the tornado warning for Marion County, obviously, but again, the main issue there is down trees from straight line winds. So the good news is the fact that the severe weather risk is ended for Haleyville, Hamilton, Sulligent, for Winfield and Ewan. Back in here, the risk of the tornadoes is over for you. So if you're an all-nighter worrying about tornadoes, you're done for the night. The tornado risk is over for the Shoals, Russellville, Hamilton, Haleyville. Risk is over there. We're watching the leading edge of this, and again, on the leading edge, we could see some strong winds, but again, the Weather Service believes the criteria is not being reached, the severe criteria. So we have no severe thunderstorm warnings for any county in the Birmingham County warning area. We do have one for Cullman. They're served by the Weather Service in Huntsville, and that's a very confusing situation. Let's just have a heart-to-heart talk with our friends in Cullman County. You are in our TV market, Birmingham. You should be watching Birmingham local stations for weather. We cover you. We always have. We always will. That has never changed. But back in the 90s, the Weather Service jurisdiction was changed from Birmingham to Huntsville, which has nothing to do with how you watch television. And that has confused so many people over the past 30 years, and it still confuses people. But you belong to us, okay? We'll take care of you. But the Weather Service in Huntsville decided to pull the trigger on a severe thunderstorm warning for Cullman County. And that's the reason sometimes there's inconsistencies between Winston and Cullman and Blount. It's a Weather Service jurisdiction thing, which makes no sense, but it is what it is. But again, for now, again, a severe thunderstorm warning. Let's take a closer look at Cullman County, that heavier line of storms. It's come on through Vinemont and West Point. It's coming into the north side of Cullman around the hospital here in a few minutes, ultimately downtown Cullman. And on the leading edge of this, you might see some strong, gusty, straight line winds. Maybe enough to knock down some trees and power lines. There is no evidence of a tornado. That's the reason there's no tornado warning in effect here. And really, the radar presentation doesn't look overly impressive. There is some type of broad circulation here that's up on the Morgan County line. Is this high top? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a kind of a closer look at that. And we're going to see these things. And understand the tornado threat's not over. That's the reason we're here. And again, we're going to watch these pretty carefully. But again, that's very broad, and there's no warning in effect here. And I think the warning has been canceled for Morgan and Madison. So we have no tornado warnings, zero, anywhere in Alabama. But again, we're starting to see this thing trying to spin like a top right here that's near Eva. This is on the Cullman-Morgan County line, and the Weather Service might look at another warning, but that's not really a tornado signature, just something to watch. And again, that's Alabama 67 right here that goes up toward Priceville. So again, no tornado warnings in the whole state right now, which is great. And again, we're going to watch this carefully. Any news from your end over there, Taylor?
Things are pretty quiet. Haven't seen any more damage reports come in, and I have heard that eventually, pretty shortly here, we're going to start clearing counties from the tornado watch, which is good news. So as this line moves through, you're done with that severe threat. So fairly soon we'll start to get some of those counties out of the watch, and then you can be done with that. But so far, oh, there we go. James, we got a new tornado warning for that circulation we were just watching.
Yeah, that's we kind of figured that might happen. So what the Weather Service is doing here, they are issuing a tornado warning, and this will include a small part of, it looks like, Cullman County. And this is for the far northern part of Cullman County and parts of Morgan County over into parts of Marshall County. The community of Grant is right here. And so again, let me just kind of, the tornadic circulation is right in through here, all right? And again, this is east of Eva, and this is, again, pretty much on the county line. This is on the Cullman-Morgan County line. So one of the problems we have with the older legacy warning systems, they go off county-wide. And if you are in Hanceville or Cullman or Brushy Pond or Colony or Dodge City, and if you're Garden City, if you think you're under a warning, you are not. We do not issue warnings based on counties. We issue warnings based on polygons. And so this is your warning polygon here. Again, Madison County, parts of Marshall County, parts of Morgan, and extreme northern Cullman. And really, I think this doesn't include any part of Cullman County. The more I look at it, this line is a line that's in Morgan County, and I think Cullman County is not in this. Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. The more I look at it. Yeah, that's the county line.
County line.
So they kept it out of Cullman County, which is good, and that's the right thing to do. So the warning is in effect for Morgan, for southern Madison, and parts of Marshall counties here. Again, Gunnersville is right here. And again, that circulation is east of Eva, right in through here. All right, and that'll be moving northeast. So let's go back at the velocity product on this. And again, you can see that circulation, which is fully in Morgan County. Eva's in Morgan County. I was about to wonder why in the world is Eva showing up in Cullman County on this map. That's not a county line, that's a polygon line, a severe thunderstorm warning polygon. Sometimes you get too many lines on these maps. So Morgan County, tornado warning, southern Madison, parts of Marshall counties. Union Grove is right here. Again, Arab is down here. Ruth is right here. This is going to be crossing US 231 north of Arab between Lacey Spring and Arab, and then crossing Highway 431 over here. And again, that will be continuing to move on to the northeast. And this is up in the Huntsville television market. This belongs to Huntsville, not to us. We're just showing this kind of as a courtesy. A lot of people are watching various streams early this morning, and that when people are watching TV on a Saturday morning at 12:50, they're probably watching for weather. All right, so that's the deal. So again, a tornado warning in effect now for parts of Morgan, Madison, and Marshall counties up in northeast Alabama. Let's see here. I'm going to pull a few more videos up. I want to show some stuff here. Let's go to WEX 05 if we can, Dennis. Let me do one more thing here. Yeah, this is some damage, and I don't exactly know the specific location, but this is an example of what we have been seeing in terms of damage tonight. And you can see that that structure, it looks like a vehicle is in there, and it's been a pretty rough ride with the straight line wind damage we've seen. You can see a large branch off of that tree. This is more damage, it looks like, to a home. Looks like a window kind of got taken out by some type of debris. And I can tell these images were taken up in Florence, up in the Tennessee Valley. And that's some images coming in from Guin. Yeah, I actually do have some trampolines, Dennis. We'll show those a little later. Again, this is that curious video we've been watching that's coming out of the shoals, possibly a tornado. Now, that happened about 10:15 to 10:30 tonight. We were in our 10 o'clock news when the warning was issued for the shoals. And again, what's going to happen, the Weather Service will be putting survey teams out tomorrow morning or this morning, I forget this is Saturday now, to look at the damage, and we'll see if that was a tornado. Let's take Quinn's camera just live. I'm not going to talk with Stephen, but I see their cameras up. This is downtown Hamilton. The good news, the rain has really decreased. It's still raining there, but the tornado risk is ended for Marion County. So if you're in Marion County, your tornado risk is over. The rain's going to be stopping soon, and it's all over. So for our friends in Marion, Franklin, Colbert, Lauderdale, your tornado risk is ended. And the weather's going to greatly improve, and the day Saturday, the day ahead, should be fairly nice. And again, I want to thank Stephen and Bill for their work out in the field tonight, because they've had a lot of tree damage up there. And you can see some of the crews are still out trying to clear streets, but it looks like the power is on and order is certainly there, which is a good thing. So back to the radar. It is now coming up on 1 a.m. This is James Spann with Taylor Sarallo. And we're live in the ABC 3340 Weather Center watching severe storms. And let's see, let's take one more WEX 05 if we can. This is coming from the town of Killen. This is up in the Tennessee Valley, not too far from the shoals. And again, this is a pretty good example of what people have been dealing with. And I think so much of what you're seeing, this is related to straight line wind damage. And this is why we tell people all the time, listen, a severe thunderstorm is going to do this. That's what severe storms do, and it's important to pay attention to severe thunderstorm warnings. I mean, the tornado warnings get all the attention, but again, we've had so many trees that are down across North Alabama tonight because of straight line winds and some structural damage because of that. These trees falling onto structures, and again, it's been a pretty rough night for a lot of folks, and there's going to be a lot of cleanup to do, but Alabama has come through fairly unscathed compared to our friends over in Mississippi tonight. So let's go back to the radar. Again, the Weather Service has canceled the tornado watch for Marion here. And again, once this line passes, your risk of severe weather has ended. That's it. We've got one line, one and done. And the line, it is just slowly progressing through here. And again, it might be, the more we look at it, it might be a little after 2 o'clock before the storms reach Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Gadsden, maybe toward 2 to 3 o'clock, and maybe 4 o'clock for Anniston. But they should slowly be weakening with time. But the one tornado warning we have is up here in the Tennessee Valley, and that's for that rotation south of Huntsville. For our area, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Cullman County, for the line of storms coming through Cullman County. For the rest of North Alabama, no severe thunderstorm warnings related to wind. The warnings are related to rain and flooding. Flash flood warnings for parts of Winston, Marion, northwestern Fayette, and northern Lamar counties. That's that blue polygon. So let's go back up and take a look at our tornado warning polygon here. This is for the one that's located south of Huntsville. And again, it's kind of got that look. It looks like this thing's trying to rotate. Let's look at our velocity coming off high top. And you can see evidence of rotation here. It's broad. It's not your classic signature, but again, it clearly ramped up for a little bit. And the tornadic, or if there's a tornado down, if there's one down, it's already crossed Highway 231. So for folks that are west of US 231, we can give an all clear. It'll be crossing Highway 431 relatively soon. This is all about 15 miles south of downtown Huntsville. And again, if it continues, it'll move up toward Jackson County, which is the county you see right here. But again, this is Marshall and this is Madison County. So that's the one active tornado warning we have in the entire state. The chance of a tornado about 10, 15 miles south of the city of Huntsville, about to cross Highway 431. So let's look at our tornado watch and let's see who's in and who's out. Okay, Taylor, we got to go to you because my battery's dying.
All right, so we'll talk more about the tornado watch here. And as you can see, parts of northwest Alabama have been trimmed from that watch. Marion County, you are no longer in a tornado watch. For our viewing area, the counties that are included in the tornado watch are still Lamar, Fayette, Walker, Winston, Coleman counties, and this lasts through 3 a.m. I do not expect there to be any kind of extension in the watch at this point based on the radar trends. I'm thinking once that these storms move through these locations, we will see those watches be trimmed away. But you notice the tan color on here as well. That is where we have a wind advisory, and we have had gusty winds out ahead of the line, not even related to these thunderstorms, gusting as high as 45 miles per hour. So breezy conditions. We've got the heavy rain, and we're watching this carefully. But these counties here in the yellow are where the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center, they work together, and they figured that is where the highest tornado threat with this system was going to be as we moved through this evening through about 3 a.m. Something to note is that farther towards the east, over parts of Georgia, northwest Georgia, that's a severe thunderstorm watch. So they opted not to extend this as a tornado watch farther into Georgia. It was extended as a severe thunderstorm watch. So for now, across our part of the state, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning for Coleman County, and that's being trimmed away. We should note that now northwestern Coleman County, you are no longer in a severe thunderstorm warning. That has been dropped for your location. Downtown Coleman, you're still included. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, so for strong winds, with that one tornado warning in the Huntsville television market that we've been watching as well. At times, that storm has shown some broad rotation. We haven't seen any really clear indications of a tornado that is on the ground by any means or anything like that, but some broad rotation. This is a thunderstorm that could be capable of producing a tornado. And so for that reason, there is a tornado warning for that storm, and that tornado warning is going to last through 1:15 a.m. So we'll keep watching that system as it moves towards the northeast. But for now, across our part of the state, the weather conditions have been, for the most part, with the exception of that warning we had, tornado warning we had in Marion County, this has been a fairly well-behaved system thus far. So I'll put back on the reflectivity values. We still got to watch this. We're going to watch that leading edge carefully. But for the time being, main threat has been, over the last hour or so, heavy rain. You see those flash flood warnings. And then right along the leading edge, we've had some reports of a few trees down here and there scattered about. But only that one tornado warning for our part of the state in Marion County. And that was, of course, the same storm that produced that tornado that did move through Amory in Mississippi. And then earlier in the day moved through cities in Mississippi and caused a lot of damage. So far, so good in terms of how our part of the state is faring when it comes to this storm system.
All right, I think we're back. Yes, we're back. All right, that's good. Mike is back. So it is 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. Saturday morning, James Spann with Taylor Sarallo. And looks like we're getting reports of damage in Hartselle. This is from this storm earlier as it came through Hartselle. Some reports potentially a tornado. up in Morgan County, up in the Tennessee Valley, getting reports of structural damage with possible injuries in the Oak Ridge, Hartselle area. I mean, this storm has been big and bad for a long time. So again, reports from emergency management indicating structural damage in the Oak Ridge, Hartselle area. And again, this is Morgan County up here in the Tennessee Valley earlier this morning. And again, that could be related to a tornado, and the Weather Service will have to send in survey teams to look at all of this tomorrow morning. So again, the one tornado warning we have in the state is up in the Tennessee Valley, up in the Huntsville television market. Around here, again, notice it is raining in parts of Tuscaloosa, parts of Walker, Jefferson, Shelby, Bibb counties. Got a few isolated showers in East Alabama. None of this is severe. This is just all showery stuff. The concern, of course, is the line. And the good news, the Weather Service in Birmingham, John DeBlock working there, is letting us know that the tornado threat, in their opinion, is diminishing for this part of the state. And I do believe that is correct. I think the dynamic support is beginning to shift slowly north. And as that happens, that will really diminish the tornado threat. It's not over. It's not zero, but again, that's good news for the larger population centers here, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, Gadsden, really good news for everybody. And as the line sags southward this morning, the odds of tornado formation for our part of the state are decreasing. That's great news. And if a new watch is required, most likely, and that's if a new watch is required, most likely that will be a severe thunderstorm watch and not a tornado watch, which is great news. And again, we might get away without any additional watches. Hey, let's take Bill's camera real quick if we can, Dennis. Again, if we got Stephen Quinn, I'd like to kind of bring him in and tell us what he's got. Stephen, if you can hear us, what have you got up there?
Yeah, we're just dealing with some more trees down right now, James, and this is what is obviously leading to some issues throughout the area right now. And you've got these people, you called them heroes, they certainly earned it, right? Out here now with these backhoes and that. This is the county department. We're out on Steel Street, by the way. This is in an area on the back end, kind of south of Hamilton downtown. And as you can see here, some more trees that were down, and crews are working to just try to get these trees out of the way so that when people wake up in the morning, they'll be able to get around. And so this is what it looks like as you see Bill there getting some more video. These pine trees just couldn't stand the winds that we were seeing earlier, and you saw what it did in downtown with those winds knocking down some of the roofing along the First National Bank's Operations Center, as well as building across from the Methodist Church downtown as well. Power is still on for the most part here where we are in Hamilton, but these guys they're busy, James, trying to get this all cleaned up right now. I got to tell you, there was a pretty significant wind event with these straight line winds. It definitely was not something you wanted to be out in, even though it didn't last very long.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is why we always remind people on nights like this, you really need to pay attention to severe thunderstorm warnings, because straight line winds can produce damage like a tornado, and it certainly looks like a lot of Morgan County has been dealing with that tonight. So again, we'll be watching Stephen's live feed. Want to pass this report along, and again, this goes back to the Hartselle situation. In fact, we'll go back to the radar if we can. We're getting reports now from the Morgan County Sheriff's Department that 6 to 7 people are trapped at a group home in the 1500 block of US 31 in Hartselle, next to the Coleman Hospital Health Park. And again, this is from the Morgan County Sheriff's Office, and beyond that, we don't have any specific details on that, but it sure looks like it's possible that this storm did drop a tornado at Hartselle earlier tonight. There was a warning in effect for Morgan County, and we've heard of no injuries from that, but again, reports of 6 to 7 people trapped at a group home in Hartselle earlier tonight. And again, obviously folks are working storm relief up there at this point. And really and truly, we won't know everything that's happened until we get the first light of day on Saturday morning. That's the way it works with these type of events. But we've got reports of structural damage in the Oak Ridge area near Hartselle, multiple reports of damage there. And That's the same storm that is moving southeast of Huntsville up here in extreme northern Marshall and extreme southern Madison counties, kind of straddling the river up here. Let's take a look at the velocity on this real quick, Taylor, and see what this looks like now. This is the same stinking storm that came through the Mississippi Delta, last night, that produced horrible, horrible damage, tornado damage at Rolling Fork, Mississippi, and Silver City, Mississippi, and produced tornado damage again at Amory, Mississippi, the north side of Amory and the south side of Smithville, Mississippi. And apparently it knocked down all those trees. You saw Stephen's live shot. Stephen's been out chasing all these tree reports all night. And again, you can see right in through here, there's still broad evidence of rotation that is passing near Lake Gunnersville at this point. Grant is right here. And again, the Weather Service in Huntsville has this tornado warning going. And again, this was in effect earlier. They did have a warning out for Hartselle and Priceville earlier when that came through and produced the damage there. Getting a few reports, there might be a tornado on the ground. And again, we're getting a lot of these reports, and they don't pan out sometimes. And again, these are very preliminary, but certainly it's been a rough ride with this kind of thing here. So let's go back to our big picture. It is 1:06, and again, we stress we have no active tornado warnings in effect, and for any part of our TV market here. We have just one warning related to wind, and that is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the southern two-thirds of Cullman County in advance of the line. But really and truly, the line has been steadily weakening there. And the same can be said for the line segment through parts of Winston and Fayette and Lamar counties. We have seen steady weakening here, which is great news. And again, we believe, and the Weather Service in Birmingham believes, the tornado threat is really diminishing, decreasing. It's not dropping down to zero. We still have to watch these things really carefully, but the main dynamic support beginning to shift a bit to the north, which lessens the chance of tornadoes down through here for the rest of the morning, which is great news. And we'll see if the Weather Service extends this up into Jackson County. But once this thing gets out of here, and again, that's the one that's been causing so many problems tonight, we are optimistic things will be relatively quiet for the rest of the morning hours. So again, heavy rain, thunder, lightning, parts of Lamar, northern Fayette, Winston, Walker, Cullman, Marshall, Morgan, up into Jackson counties in northeast Alabama. We have a flash flood warning in effect now for parts of Winston, Marion, northwestern Fayette, northern Lamar counties. And there's some rain down to the south, but things have just really calmed down, and that's great news. And again, I think I can safely say with some reliability here, Taylor, we've heard of no injuries in Alabama tonight.
So far, I have not seen anything, which is, of course, the best news. That's all you can hope for, is that folks, are aware of the weather. We're ready to be weather aware this evening, got to their safe place. And, we can always repair buildings and we can always repair items. But the best news is when we do not have any kind of injuries or loss of life with these types of events, especially when we have these overnight events. That's one of the things we worry about the most, is that just folks won't get these warnings. I know it's a Friday night and you're thinking about the end of the work week and what you're going to do to start your weekend. And not everybody's always paying attention to the weather. So when we have events like this, it's always just a concern that message got out to folks and that they've been ready for this. And so far it seems like, we haven't had any reports of injuries, which is great news across our part of the state.
All right, so 109, and we'll stay with us a little longer here, and we don't want to stay on just all night if there's no reason to stay on all night, in that the threat is fading, and we just don't have any tornado warnings, and we have not had any tornado warnings in our market for a while. We'll stay with it for a while longer. Again, hopefully we can get away with no additional tornado warnings for the rest of the night. That would be marvelous. But if you're just joining us, we've been on the air continuously since about 10:45 tonight. This is for a severe weather threat. This is March in Alabama. We say this thing so often. These happen. This is March. Our tornado season here is November through May. It happens anytime November through May. Events like this are very common here. This is nothing unusual. And we live in a world of hype and fear, and I don't like that. I really don't like that. A lot of people use fear to suck people in for likes and shares and followers and engagement and monetization, and that's just rotten. That is really bad. This kind of thing happens a lot here. And all you have to do is hear the warnings, have a plan. We're fine. We'll get through these things just fine. And we're going to get through tonight just fine. It has been a horrible night in Mississippi with a lot of problems there. Apparently, we're going to have some very upper end tornado damage in places like Rolling Fork and Silver City and parts of Amory and maybe parts of Smithfield. But in Alabama, we've had a lot of trees down from straight line winds. And yes, people have been paying attention, and I think people have been watching this carefully, but there's never a need to be fearful of these type of events. They happen, and people have memories maybe of April 27th. Those are generational type days. Those days happen once every 40 years or so here. So please don't let fear creep into your preparation and get sucked into the TikTok, YouTube world of fear. We don't like to do that. That's a very bad world to be in here. Just be informed, have a plan, we'll be fine. So having said that little mini sermon here comes your line of storms. And let's go back up to our tornado warning one more time. It's about to run out of the polygon up here, and we'll see if they extend that into Jackson. They do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Jackson. I say they, the Weather Service in Huntsville. We'll change to the Weather Service in High Top.
Looks like they have issued a tornado warning. I'm not sure why it hasn't quite popped up in our system yet.
Yeah, for the same storm. So they are going to extend this. This is going to be for parts of DeKalb, Jackson, and Marshall counties up in northeast Alabama until 1:45. A possible tornado was near Grant, 11 miles north of Guntersville, moving east at 60 miles an hour. So in a minute, you're going to see a new polygon pop on here, and this will include parts of Jackson and DeKalb counties and Marshall counties up in northeast Alabama for circulation, again, that is near Grant. And again, it's going to be moving in this direction like this. Coming across the lake, this is Lake Guntersville right here. Langston is here. And again, Stevenson is up here. This is in Jackson County. Henniger is here. This is in DeKalb County. There's Eider. And again, keep moving back here. You can see US 11, Interstate 59 right over here near the screen. So we'll see in a minute. That should be popping up shortly. So the Weather Service in Huntsville is going to extend their tornado warning until 1:45 for about the next 30 minutes into parts of Marshall, Jackson, and DeKalb counties in northeast Alabama. That is up in the Huntsville television market. And again, we're doing this just as a courtesy since so many people watch these streams from all over. That's the situation. I have a funny feeling this might be, and there's no guarantees in the weather business, but this might be one of the, if not the last tornado warning of the night. We certainly hope that's the case because this is the one storm that produced so many problems back in Mississippi. And once this thing gets out of the state, everything else is looking fairly benign early this morning, which is great news. So let's go back at the reflectivity, look at our big picture, Taylor. And again, we'll get that polygon here, hopefully put up on the map here shortly. So here's your line. Let's go back to the Birmingham radar. And the line is very disorganized coming through Cullman County. Let's look at Cullman County, and technically, yes, there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Cullman County up here, but it's just looks puny. So we'll take a closer look at Cullman County, Taylor, on the radar here, and it's just a lot of rain. This is outflow dominant, just a lot of rain. And yes, there's certainly going to be some gusty winds, thunder, lightning, but I don't see any evidence to support winds of 58 miles an hour at this point. But still, we've got technically that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Cullman County, and that will be in effect until, go back.
1:15.
Yeah, 1:15. So it expires in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So in 30 seconds, this will be off the board. And there's really no need for a warning here. It's just messy thunder, lightning, a lot of rain. And that is the last warning involving wind in our television market. Again, that tornado warning up in northeast Alabama, that's in the Huntsville television market. So again, you'll see this polygon disappearing. Kind of look at a bigger view here, and no warnings at all in terms of wind for Winston or Walker or Fayette or Lamar. And in advance of the line, we've got additional showers forming. And again, that's really good news. These showers will help to stabilize the atmosphere for places like Jasper and Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. And really and truly, as this line sags southward, I think the chance of additional tornado formation is pretty low here. Again, not zero, but pretty low. So for those that are staying up all night waiting on something to happen, if you're in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, Gadsden, I think you're okay. And you've never been in a tornado watch. In fact, let's look at our tornado watch. And again, you can see that Birmingham is not included, or Anniston or Gadsden or Tuscaloosa. We're down to a few counties left. Notice a number of counties have been cleared of the tornado watch up in northwest Alabama. A tornado watch remains in effect until 3 for Lamar, Fayette, Winston, Walker, Cullman, Morgan, Madison, Marshall, DeKalb, and Jackson counties. And that's it. There's no watch to the south. The counties in brown, that is a wind advisory because of gradient winds not related to storms. Those gradient winds might gust to 45 miles an hour. And again, we have a tornado warning that should have expired at 1:15, right, Taylor?
Should have.
Our little box is struggling this morning. Sometimes our box is struggling.
Something's going on because we never saw. There we go.
Okay, so it's off the board now. It might be a timing thing. I mean, maybe the clock's off.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's no warning for Cullman County. That is off the board. You're good. And we have a tornado warning that is not showing up on the box here for up in the Tennessee Valley for parts of DeKalb, Jackson, and Marshall counties. And again, what I'll do here is just kind of read off some of the towns in this. I'm looking at the polygon on my system here. So let's go to text data. A possible tornado at 1:08 when it was issued was over Grant, 11 miles north of Guntersville, moving east at 60. The tornado will be near Section at 1:25, Fife at 1:30, Rainsville, Sylvania at 1:35, Fort Payne and Henniger around 1:40. And some of the other locations close to the track of this tornado would be Dutton, Langston, Rosalie, Columbus City, and Hammondville. So again, this is a tornado warning that is in effect for parts of Marshall, Jackson, and DeKalb counties up in northeast Alabama until 1:45. There you go. Taylor's drawing that thing in. This is your tornado warning polygon up in here. And again, this is in the Huntsville TV market. Our friends in Huntsville will be covering this extensively. But just be aware of that if you are in Guntersville, around the lake, over here toward central DeKalb County, you got a tornado warning. And even though the signatures might not be overwhelming, this storm has had a history of producing damage. We've had damage in Hartselle, most likely tornado damage tonight. We've had tornado damage with this particular storm in Amory, Mississippi, and certainly a lot of tornado damage in Silver City and Rolling Fork, Mississippi. The damage over there is horrible. That happened last night about 8:30 or 8:30, something like that. And again, we just don't really see a spot I can show you here where there's a tornado. There could be a circulation that's trying right in through here, but again, it's very broad, but still, Weather Service in Huntsville believes that the right course of action is to post a warning on that.
They are calling it a confirmed tornado.
Yeah, I think they must have seen a TDS at one point, but they're showing it 7 miles east of Grant, moving east at 60. But it certainly looks less than impressive on radar. But still, if you're in the polygon, you respect it, and that's the deal. So let's look at a big picture here. And again, we'll hang in here for another 10 minutes or so, and we might trend back toward going to regular programming because we don't want to just sit here and flap our lips all night because people, you sit all night and you flap your lips all night. We don't want to do that. We have no active tornado warnings anywhere in our TV market. The one that's in effect is up here in the Tennessee Valley. A weakening band of showers here coming through Cullman. And yes, I know, I can hear you talking to me. What do you mean weakening? It's pouring here. I totally understand that. Rain is heavy. You've got thunder, you've got lightning, and the winds are gusty, but the trend has been for these to weaken. We've had a lot of damage in Mississippi, trees down in northwest Alabama, a lot of damage around the shoals, maybe a tornado there, but the trend has been toward weakening for the past hour or two, and that's great. And quite frankly, we believe the chance of a tornado is decreasing south of that line, which is good news. And if the SPC decides to post another watch, most likely it's going to be a severe thunderstorm watch and not a tornado watch, which is a good thing. So, Taylor, take it for a minute. I got to go get a quick sip of water because my voice is doing this.
So as we are tracking this line, as James was just saying, it does appear that so far the radar trends are good across our part of the state. The spot that's seeing the heaviest rain in our part of the state right now is in Fayette. We've got some very heavy rain moving through parts of Fayette County, but no evidence of a tornado with this. We are looking at just general rain and thunder. These storms are not even severe warned at this point. So these are below severe limits. We're talking rain and thunder. It's probably loud. It's a thunderstorm, but so far, great news is that these do not have any kind of severe thunderstorm warnings with them. So we'll keep an eye out to see what the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center decide to do in terms of an expansion of any kind of watch or anything like that. But we have had Marion County removed from that tornado watch, and we still have a few counties left in that tornado watch that lasts through 3 a.m. But for the time being, the radar presentation of this line just kind of looks messy. This is a messy line of thunderstorms. They're strong thunderstorms, but they are below severe limits. We've got quite a bit of rain developing out ahead of that line, which is a good thing. That helps to kind of contaminate the atmosphere, and that's going to prevent strengthening with the main leading edge of storms as those move through. So for the time being, the radar trends have been good. We have not seen any more flash flood warnings issued in the last hour or so. As this line starts to pick up forward speed just a little bit, it did sit over parts of Lamar, Marion, Winston counties for a while, dumped about 3 inches of rain in some spots, and so for that reason we did have the flash flood warning issued. That's that blue box you see on your screen there, but for now we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings across our part of the state, and we haven't in quite some time. Once that Coleman severe thunderstorm warning was dropped, that was the last warning that we had. So radar trends are good, and looking off towards the west, there are not any warnings over Mississippi that we have to worry about moving towards our state. The radar trends are improving there as well. So for the time being, we are tracking some loud thunderstorms across central Alabama. We do still have one tornado warning north of our area in the Huntsville television market. So they're watching that carefully. That was the same storm that prompted a tornado warning for Marion County earlier in the evening when we went on air. And that's also the same storm that produced heavy damage in parts of Mississippi. But we have not seen anything like that thus far in our part of the state. We do have some trees down in some locations, some minor structural damage. Haven't seen any reports of anybody injured yet or anything like that, which is great. That's exactly what we always hope for, especially with these nocturnal events. When we have these systems moving through overnight, we always worry that folks can get those warnings and be safe. But so far, so good. Once again, no warnings across our part of the state. So this time of the night, that's the best thing that you can hear.
All right, so 1:23 a.m. and again, all is quiet for our part of the state. We have this long line of storms that has been steadily weakening. The tornado threat is diminishing. The concern has been really flooding parts of northwest Alabama, but the heavier rain has shifted south of those flood warnings. The line of storms now stretching from Millport and Kennedy over to Fayette, Carbon Hill, Smith Lake, Cullman, Huntsville, Lake Gunnersville, Scottsboro. And the only trouble we have, it's up in that northeastern corner of the state. There's a tornado warning polygon that's in effect for parts of northeast Alabama. And what I'll do is probably just pull that thing up through a different source, since our system does not want to ingest that tornado warning polygon for some odd reason here. So I tell you what, Dennis, let's take WEX 05 full screen if we can. So there we go. We'll show it that way. How about that? That's a tornado warning until 1:45, and this is for northeast Alabama. This is for parts of DeKalb County, and this is the northern part of the county, and this is, again, valid until 1:45. over into parts of Jackson County and Marshall County. The possible tornado is near the lake, and this includes Pisgah, Rosalie, Henniger, Ider, Hammondville, and areas north of Valley Head. This does not include Fort Payne or Rainsville or Fife. If you're in any of those communities, this is north of there, a fairly small tornado warning polygon. So again, this is a tornado warning polygon for the northeastern part of Alabama, for parts of Jackson, a little bit of Marshall, and parts of northern DeKalb counties up in the northeastern part of the state until 1:45. And again, this is in the Huntsville television market. We do not have any warnings down here in our part of the state. While we're looking at WEX 05, wanted to show some damage here. These images are coming from Amory, Mississippi. And understand this, that looked just terrifying, this tornado signature on radar when it came through Amory. And this is what put us on the air about 10:45, trying to get people in Marion County a heads up that this is coming your way. And thankfully for our friends in Marion County, Alabama, the tornado dissipated right about the time it hit the state line. But this is all on the north side of Amory, Mississippi. And that's a report we got from the Morgan County Sheriff's Department. You can see they've got, earlier, they reported 67 people trapped at a senior group home on US 31 in Hartselle. And apparently a tornado did touch down in Hartselle based on the reports we're seeing. This is in Morgan County, well to the north of Cullman. We understand from the Morgan County Sheriff's Office those people have been rescued at that group home, which is a good outcome there. And again, we got a lot of images of this, just the constant lightning in the sky across the state. These things are producing fire in the sky tonight. And again, so many images of that. This is some damage up in Killen. This is up in the Tennessee Valley. You can see a large tree down there with that pouring rain. And a lot of the tree damage, the result of damaging straight line winds. It is conceivable that a tornado did touch down in Hartselle. A tornado maybe touched down in parts of the Shoals area tonight. But for most locations, the damage was related to straight line winds. And again, you can see some more of the structural damage across the state. So let's go back to the radar. James Spann here with Taylor Sarallo at the insane hour of 1:27 a.m. on a Saturday morning. We have a line of storms sagging southward. This is not just rushing through, it's sagging southward. But the good news, we have had no issues in terms of wind or tornadoes for our part of the state. We've had some tornado damage in Hartselle, possibly some tornado damage in Florence, a lot of wind damage in Marion County. If you've been watching Stephen Quinn and Bill Castle, they've had live video of all that. But generally speaking, this thing has been behaved as it sags to the south. We've had tornado warnings in parts of the Tennessee Valley. And again, we have a tornado warning for parts of DeKalb and Jackson counties up here in northeast Alabama. But for our part of the state, it sure looks like the tornado threat is diminishing. And the odds of additional tornado warnings are looking very low. The weakening trend continues, and that is good news. The better wind dynamics are beginning to shift to the north. And the overall thinking is that the severe weather threat is fading. And that's a great time as the line progresses to the southeast, and we're hoping that the rest of the morning will be relatively quiet. But again, if you're in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Gadsden, this line, it might be 2:30 or 3 o'clock. It's moving so slow before it reaches you now. And when it gets there, it's going to rain. There'll be thunder. There'll be some lightning. But again, I don't think we have a tornado problem. Anniston might be 4:30 before it reaches you. Same thing. Rain, thunder, lightning. But again, that has nothing to do with the severe criteria. To be severe, you've got to have 1-inch diameter hail or 58 mile per winds or greater, and we just don't see any sign of that. And in advance of the line, all this rain down here, this is helping to cool and stabilize the atmosphere in places like Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, and that decreases the tornado threat even more. So everything is just behaved. But one more time, let's look at high top and pull up here in Jackson County and look at this thing that's passing north of Fort Payne. We want to stay with it while this is in progress here. So again, I would imagine this is the inflow notch right here. And yeah, it just doesn't look like a classic tornado signature here, but still, Fort Payne is down here. This velocity couplet is going to be coming out across like this. Again, you can see the community of Henniger here. This is Dutton here. If you're in section or points west, the tornado threat is ended for you. The community of Rosalie is up here. And, you know, there could be a couple of small circulations here trying to get going, but really both of those don't look that impressive. But still, you respect the polygon if you're in that up here in DeKalb or Jackson counties in northeast Alabama. And this line segment will be into Georgia soon. And again, what I've said this before, and I think it's true this morning, I think a lot of this is the fact that the Weather Service in Huntsville simply respects what this thing has done. Oftentimes you look back at it, and what you got here, Tato, that looks a lot better.
Yeah, that's a little circulation as well. That is actually, that is outside of where that tornado warning is. That's north of the tornado warning, but that looks a little suspicious. That looks like we could have some rotation going on here, at least for the last couple of scans. That has kind of been showing some signs of rotation. Let me put on the correlation coefficient, and we've got a TDS there. So that looks like we could have a tornado on the ground that would be north of Flat Rock, near Overlook, near Sulphur Springs, south of Liberty Hill, has just crossed over 117. That looks to me to be a pretty good indication that's co-located there with that correlation coefficient, that drop in CC. So that looks to me to be a potential tornado on the ground here. In this area just north of Flat Rock.
Yeah, this is north of Fort Payne. This is north of Eider. And again, that thing's going to be in Georgia pretty soon. The community of Higdon sits right here. But yeah, that's pretty nasty.
And then when we go to this velocity, I mean,
yeah, it's there. Goodness. That is very impressive.
Because that tornado warning that I see here, it looks like it does not include the city of Flat Rock, correct?
Yeah, in fact, let me...
Because this would be north of that warning.
Let's throw up the WEX-05 real quick. And there's your tornado warning. And Flat Rock is out of the polygon. So this could be a separate circulation that's popped up there. So let's go back to the radar. And again, let's go back to the TDS, and right here we have a tornado debris signature that is down. And again, this is in the extreme northeastern corner of Alabama. So if you happen to know somebody that lives up in this part of the state, you might want to let them know. Anytime you see a TDS like that, that means debris is being lofted by radar. And this is not a good situation to have in the middle of the night. And again, we've had some damage from possible tornadoes, but again, this is in Jackson County. This is the far northeastern corner of Alabama. Bridgeport is up here. The town of Flat Rock is right here. That's Alabama Highway 117 right here. And again, that tornado is going to be in Georgia soon. This is the Georgia state line right here. This is Trenton, Georgia. Chattanooga, Tennessee is just right above us here. So this is the far northeastern corner of Alabama. This is a tornado warning or a tornado on radar in Jackson County. Again, this is going to be moving over into Georgia fairly soon. So again, this... and I don't think this is in their polygon.
They do have a new polygon out for this.
They do. Okay, they do. I'm sorry.
Yes.
There's so much traffic. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, yeah. They do have a tornado warning for this one. So again, a confirmed tornado is located just near the community of Overlook right here. This is northeast of Flat Rock, and again, that will be moving south of Higdon, moving into Georgia here fairly soon. Again, this is Cedar Hill. This is Trenton, Georgia. So we have a tornado that is down right now, lofting debris in Jackson County in northeast Alabama with a tornado warning in effect there. We have multiple tornado warnings in effect for parts of Jackson and DeKalb counties up in northeast Alabama. There's the next volume scan. You can see the CC drop is not quite as pronounced in that image, but still it's there. So that is a confirmed tornado. And notice this is not really producing that much thunder and lightning at this spot, just 4 lightning strikes over the past 10 minutes in that zone. There's the velocity. But let's look at the other one. Let's see if we found the other circulation, the second one that's prompted this other warning. We'll put the velocity on. This is coming from High Top. And again, you can see evidence of maybe a couple of small circulations here, not too far from Henniger. But again, this Fort Payne is down here. These circulations are all going to be passing well to the north of Fort Payne. Again, Valley Head is here up top, at the foot of Lookout Mountain. Mentone is, of course, above Valley Head right here. This is all north of Mentone, north of Valley Head, north of Fort Payne. So if you're in that far, far northern part of DeKalb County or the far southeastern part of Jackson County, be aware that you've got evidence of tornadoes down. And again, that's the only part of the state with tornadoes, nowhere else. But that's it up in northeast Alabama. So let's go back to our reflectivity and take a look at the big picture, if you will, as we're coming up on 1:35 this early Saturday morning. Got a line of storms stretching from DeKalb County and Jackson County in northeast Alabama, down through Lake Gunnersville, around Albertville, Huntsville, Carbon Hill, Fayette, Kennedy, and Millport. In advance of the line, we have areas of rain through parts of Tuscaloosa, Jefferson counties. Thunder, lightning, heavy rain, yep. Severe, nope. The only severe activity is up here in that northeastern corner. We have absolutely no warnings in effect for this line. And considering the rain in advance of the line, the fact that the dynamics are passing slowly to the north, I would say the odds of tornado formation for our TV market are very low for the rest of the morning. So go to bed. If there's a warning, now wait, but hang on, before you go to bed, be sure you got your weather radio engaged. And if you don't have a weather radio on your phone, what you want to do is be sure that the sleep mode has been disabled and the do not disturb has been disabled. So if there's a notification, you'll get that. And be sure that emergency alerts are turned on. Our app is great, but the sound that iOS allows you to have on these phones is only so loud. The one loud tone out is a built-in feature called Wireless Emergency Alerts, or WEA. It has nothing to do with an app. And you hear those for tornado warnings, upper end flash flood warnings, and amber alerts. And that's basically it. And we've learned a lot of people turn them off because they don't want to hear the amber alerts. And that makes no sense. Don't you want to help somebody if a child is missing? But be sure that's enabled. That will wake you up. So between wireless emergency alerts and your weather radio, that will wake you up in case we get an unexpected warning later this morning. Again, I don't think we will have one. And again, the watch is set to expire at 3 o'clock, and quite frankly, I don't know if they extend it. If they do, it will most likely be a severe thunderstorm watch. But based on the lack of reports, the weakening here, I don't think a watch is going to be needed past 3 a.m., which is certainly some good news. So Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, Gadsden, some noisy rain, storms in an hour, 2 hours from now. The odds of it being severe are quite low. The only concern, it's up here. So let's go back to that TDS we saw that's up here near Flat Rock in Jackson County. This is the far, far northeastern corner of the state. You see the line approaching Chattanooga. And we'll go to the high top radar and we'll take a peek and see what we see now. So, boy, that's a nasty looking hook over here near Trenton, Georgia. Again, Chattanooga is right up and through here. You can see multiple spots within the line where there could be some circulations in through here, but I think the tornado is weakened. The one that was up here sure looks that way, which is good. And again, this is noise. This is not a TDS, all the stuff you see here. Again, right here, that's your TDS, and it's slowly fading away and kind of goes away. So that is moving into Georgia. And again, this is US 11, Interstate 59 right here that's on the Georgia side of the state line. So that northern circulation has moved over into Georgia. The southern circulation is going to be passing north of Mentone, north of Valley Head. That'll be in Georgia fairly soon. But again, just be aware that for a brief time, there's still a few minutes left with tornado warnings in effect for parts of DeKalb County and parts of Jackson counties, the southeastern part of Jackson County, the northern part of DeKalb County in North Alabama. This does not include Fort Payne, Collinsville. No, this is far north of there. Any other damage reports, Taylor? Anything we missed here? Because we're going to try and get back to programming here in about 5 minutes.
At times we have seen with this tornado-warned storm in its life history, we've seen some reports of damage intermittently here and there from what could be potential touchdowns with those warnings that we saw in the Huntsville television market. So we'll be watching those. In terms of any kind of news coming out of our television market, since the storm moved through Marion County, Haven't seen much else in terms of damage. There was some damage reported in the Bear Creek community. There was a possible brief touchdown there. A very quick touchdown of this tornado, so some possibility of some trees down. I've seen some pictures of what could be a farmhouse that was impacted by that system. So of course the National Weather Service is going to go out and survey that damage. But at that point there was a brief TDS, so we'll see what they find when they go do that damage survey. But for the time being, we really are looking at just general rain and thunder. Haven't seen much in terms of any kind of new warnings. Something I will talk about, I was just checking our chat there, is that there have been some more counties removed from the watch, although that's not showing up in our system. So I'm gonna have to call our weather company here in a second. But Lamar, you are no longer in the tornado watch. Winston, no longer in the tornado watch either. So that has been dropped for you. The tornado watch does still continue for Fayette, Walker, Coleman counties through 3 a.m. But as soon as that leading edge of this line moves through your location, that will be dropped. And at this point, they are leaning towards not extending that watch. So we'll keep an eye on things. We'll keep an eye on the radar trends. But so far at this point, it does not look like this watch will be extended to include more counties or extended further in time. And of course, makes sense because it's been a while since we've had any kind of severe thunderstorm warning or any kind of tornado warning across our part of the state.
Yeah, that's great news. So again, as Taylor says, we do not expect a new watch, and things are nice and calm. The only issue, that's that far northeastern corner of the state. So non-severe storms across North Alabama early this morning. Those will be sagging to the south, and you might hear some thunder, you might hear some lightning. Now, if you turn on the TV and you hear some thunder and lightning and it's 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and you don't see us on TV, that means they're not severe. Okay, you know, I say this all the time. We just don't like to stay on TV to flap our lips and to be on TV. Some of you might, I bet you Dennis wants to watch the Pocket Fisherman commercial back there in the back. So we want people to be able to see that. But again, we'll be here watching this stuff carefully for the next several hours. But again, I just think we're going to be okay as the dynamics lift to the north. The air is stable thanks to all these showers developing in advance of the line. Thunder, lightning, yes. Gusty winds, yes. Heavy rain, yes. Tornadoes, the odds are very low. Not zero, but very low. A couple of quick logistical points. I just want to encourage everybody. I've seen a lot of this tonight. People are, what's the right word? Stealing, maybe is what it is. They'll take the storm spotters images and video and they'll just steal it and then they'll retweet it or send it to me and act as if it's theirs. That's theft. I mean, these people that are storm chasers, they work hard. They spend so much money on gas and they charge for their products and services for TV stations to use. And by doing that, you're stealing their material. So I just wanted to be sure we get everything straight here. These folks work really hard. These chasers are important. For some of them, it's the way they make their living. And by taking their images and claiming them that you shot them or you took the photographs, that's just not right. So please be respectful. And if you want to share what they've shared on social media, that's fine. But just retweet them or repost what they posted on whatever platform so they get the credit for that. And that's really important for them. They serve a great purpose and we appreciate what they do. And I do my best to be totally respectful. We have an agreement with them where we pay them to use their products. Absolutely, we'll show that. But anyway, just a note on that. Let's see, what else is going on here real quick before we go back. And also wanted to mention too, also a lot of people, I probably had, Taylor, 200 people wanting individual briefings while we're on the air. And again, I understand that. Listen, I am very engaged with people. I will answer you almost every time, almost every single time, as quick as I can. I'm honored that you came to me out of all the weather people. But during these events, every CPU cycle in my brain has to be focused on telling a coherent story on the air. And if I'm answering one person at a time over here on the Twitter or the Facebag or whatever, then it takes away from what I'm doing here. And I will tell people we're on the air. That's typically my response. And the encouragement is to watch. I promise if you watch, you will get your questions answered on the air. And we have to do it that way. And I've got hundreds of these tonight from people wanting individual briefings while we're on the air. And I just can't do that. So the encouragement whenever we are doing this is just to watch. And I promise we'll try and answer all your questions. I see all the different traffic that comes in. So again, if you're just tuning in here, if you're just joining us, and again, we simulcast this on YouTube, on Facebook, on our app, on the website. If you want to watch us on your phone, we want you to watch on the phone. And of course, we're free over the air. However you're watching us, we're glad that you've discovered us. And again, we want you to watch whenever we have this. But the news is good here at 1:45. There was some concern we might be in tornado warning coverage. And we've been in coverage nonstop since about 10:45 last night. We haven't stopped, but we have been watching this line for hours. And once it got south of really US 278, it's just fizzled. Now, and again, yes, it's raining and it's gusty winds and there's a lot of thunder lightning, but they're not even close to being severe. And with the rain to the south helping to stabilize the atmosphere, the dynamic support pulling away to the north, the odds of a tornado problem are very, very, very low. The Weather Service has told us they will not be extending the watch past 3 a.m. in any way, shape, or form. Because the risk of severe weather is pretty much faded away, and that's great news. So I think we can all go to sleep, get some sleep, and you might hear some thunder and lightning, and again, we'll watch these. If anything happens, we'll pop right back up on the air. But the only issue, it's up here in the northeastern corner of the state, and we should be close to getting those things into Georgia here pretty soon, Taylor. Pretty close. And again, what's going to happen is that the Weather Service will be sending out survey teams to places like Hartselle and Florence, and where all the trees are down to determine if we had tornado damage or straight line wind damage, and we'll get the survey work back tomorrow. But the only warnings we have in effect are up here in northeast Alabama. In our graphic system, for some reason, it's not showing the polygons. But let's look at the velocity real quick. For
now, with a tornado warning in Georgia.
Well, that's good.
If I am seeing this correctly. Yes, canceled tornado warning for DeKalb Jackson, expires tornado warning for DeKalb Jackson.
So we have no tornado warnings in the whole state. So they're done.
Yes.
Hey, Dennis, take Wexo 5. I got a gift for Dennis Martin back there in the back. There you go, Dennis. This is what you wanted. So for our director back there in the, yeah, Popeil. So if you want to get a gift for Dennis Martin, our director, that's what you want right there. Yeah, I want one. I would love one of these things. I mean, you never know when you walk by a body of water and you just need to go fishing or something. All right, so back to the radar. We'll kind of wrap this thing up as we get into the early morning hours here. Let's go back to the wide view, and we have a line of non-severe storms that are weakening coming down through North Alabama. And again, there's hardly, just not a whole lot to see here, but again, it's raining heavily, some thunder, some lightning, and some gusty winds, but these are well below severe limits. Stretching from the Georgia state line north of Fort Payne, Lake Gunnersville, Hanceville, Curry, Carbon Hill, Fayette, Kennedy, and Millport. Showers are increasing over Tuscaloosa, Jefferson counties south of that main line, and it just looks like an outflow-dominated batch of rain coming through during the pre-dawn hours, which does not involve anything on our part. We'll still watch these like a hawk, and if we need to come back on the air, we'll do that. So again, we're going to go back to regular programming now, air at 1:48, and we'll be watching carefully should we need to come back. We'll come back, but for now, that wraps up this segment of weather coverage. I'm James Spann with Taylor Sarallo live in the ABC 3340 Weather Center.